Floater will go for T.
Good.
Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
I feel like it's a process. Playing 5-on-5, playing in the game is way different than playing in practice. Playing in 5-on-5 is way different than going through workouts, no matter how hard the workout is, just getting up and down the floor. Like, simulating the game is really hard to do. So we'll be prepared Saturday.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Butler somehow got by two defenders and...
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Another shot fake. And the drive and the layup. And one for Jared Butler.
Call us on the Impact Health Labs caller line at 254-339-1122. For your company's mass COVID testing, log on to impacthealthlabs.com.
Definitely, especially with the way the season ended last year. Whether we won it or not, it wasn't the way we wanted to end it. So being able to win it this year with, whatever adversity I faced, individually, and having the adversity that the team faced with COVID and everything that, speaking for the team, I think this is a real special moment on Saturday.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Hope you had a pretty good day.
And welcome into SicEm365 Radio.
Golly. Fundamentals. Welcome to SicEm365 Radio. Craig Smoak and Paul Catalina, David Smoak, although you couldn't hear me. And Jack and also Armstrong run the mothership here on SicEm365 Radio. Both basketball teams have a chance to clinch a tie, to clinch a share, possibly even outright win the Big 12 championship this weekend, in fact, tomorrow.
Yeah, and the men, of course, they need to win the game and then get a couple of, games in so they can hit that number. So hopefully there's not cancellations next week. But, yeah, and then the women just continue to do what they do.
Yeah, we've been talking about it every single day, the possibilities that are out there right now, and here we are, a day closer to potentially seeing them win some Big 12 titles, so it should be a fun weekend.
Scotty B on text line today, the keys against Kansas tomorrow, slow down the guards, and David McCormick. I would try to get David one or two of those guards to get in foul trouble. In addition, we need to step up in both ends of the court, hopefully have everyday John back as well. Don't know that. Won't know that until sometime tomorrow. That game's not until 7 o'clock, so it was a late tip. And I don't think that they surely can't dig themselves a hole, right? Like they did Tuesday against Iowa State, different opponent on the road, even if they were to be able to grind back. But to me, I don't know. Sometimes we look at a fast start. You always want a fast start, but how important is a fast start tomorrow night in Lawrence?
I think it's pretty important given the fact that, they were sluggish the other night. And you do want to, maybe have Kansas say, okay, here we go again.
Yeah, I think, fast starts, like you said, are always good. They're always nice to have. So, yeah, I mean, it'd be important. Is it absolutely necessary to them winning that game tomorrow? No, I don't think that it is. But would it be ideal? Yeah, I mean, yeah, you want to start fast, but you also want to close well at the same time. So, you can't dig yourself a hole like you did the other night because I don't think Kansas is the type of team that you're going to be able to dig out from. So, hopefully they've knocked that bit of rust off, and it'll be smooth sailing tomorrow and just a straight-up game.
Couple of notes in Baylor football. Pflugerville Hendrickson defensive tackle Cedric Roberts committed to Baylor soon after he received an offer. I talked to Carl Absek. He's the head coach at Cedar Park because I saw a lot of on the website, Grayson, of course, and all over it with the commitment. But I saw a lot of this. He doesn't have a recruiting profile. This is a raw talent. He has a huge, long basketball-type wingspan. So I called Carl Absek. I looked at the district that Hendrickson is in. It's a 5A school. And I called Cedar Park head coach Carl Absek. This is what he said to me. He said, is he number 86 or 55? Because a couple of linemen obviously popped out at him on tape when he remembered Hendrickson. He goes, we've only played them one time. He said, oh, yeah, very athletic. I would say he has big upside, raw, but you love his length, a lot of length. He's raw because I don't believe he's played a lot of football, but you have to like what you see on tape. So there's a Cedric Roberts commitment from Hendrickson High School. And also another note, we can both, or all of us, respond to this. Cooper Lands has been named the Texas Sports Writers Association Defensive Player of the Year in Class 6A. That's a Baylor commit and signee. So that's a nice little feather in his cap and also in Baylor's recruiting class as well.
Yeah, it is a nice honor for Cooper Lands, and he's not maybe the most talked about guy from that recruiting class, but certainly one who's piled up some honors. So exciting to see what he can potentially do starting this summer. But they need help on the defensive line, and that's where he'll come into play, hopefully sooner rather than later. And you talk about Cedric Roberts. They took a lot of project-type players in Matt Rule's tenure, even though they didn't have the time to kind of see it all pan out the way they were expecting to. Having a guy for 4 or 5 years and seeing how they can develop him. They only really did that for a couple. But this is a guy who kind of sounds like he's in that mold of not quite ready to be a big impact, but if they give him a little bit of time and a little bit of teaching, that he could be, with his physical traits, really tremendous. So, I find it intriguing, and they've had a really nice run. I mentioned that they could have another commit coming soon, and this wasn't who I was referring to. So they've got some nice momentum right now.
I thought when I saw it today that's who the commit was. I thought it was, maybe it's a little earlier than we thought.
Yeah, but it's not. It's a guy that apparently has kind of that raw, athletic, long length, angular type build. He's also a basketball player. Hendrickson's won 2 games this week because they had some games delayed because of the icy conditions. And so Cedric Roberts and Hendrickson, in fact, play tomorrow night. So he commits to Baylor as well. There's a few other notes on the All-State team that I wanted to pass along. He's the Defensive Player of the Year. But also Monterey Baldwin, an honorable mention wide receiver out of Shoemaker, another Baylor commit. Kyron Drones, honorable mention quarterback out of course, Shadow Creek, a Baylor signee. Samari Howard from Temple, the running back. DeAndre Exford from Shoemaker, all-purpose. Belton linebacker Joe Sniffen, his dad's the coach. Torian York, linebacker from Temple. And Savante Sanford, defensive back from Harker Heights. All of them make the All-State team from honorable mention all the way up to, as I mentioned, Cooper Lands from Denton Guyer as the player of the year. How good is Michigan?
Pretty good. I mean, they're number 3 in the country for a reason, and they had a long layoff, kind of like Baylor did. Came back. The game they played against Wisconsin looked very similar, although Wisconsin's better than Iowa State, but looked very similar to the Iowa State-Baylor game. And down in the first half, came back, stormed back in the second half. Yeah, they're pretty darn good. They're a scary team.
Yeah, I'd weigh towards those who have seen them a lot more than I have, but from best I can tell, they appear to be pretty good. I mean, I think the ranking says it all. I think the wins, the record says it all. I think the talk about them on TV says it all. So, they're being talked about for a reason right now, and maybe not enough. Maybe they should be mentioned more in line with the teams that could win a championship this year, and maybe I'm missing some of that buzz for them because it always seems to be about Gonzaga and Baylor, but they're right there in the mix as well.
I saw last night some of the national analysts mentioning that, hey, we keep hearing about whether Michigan should be in that same group with Gonzaga and Baylor. Should we ask the question, should Gonzaga and Baylor be in the same conversation with Michigan, or at least on that upper edge? They just hammered Iowa 79-57. Iowa's a top 25 team. Gonzaga's had some routes, big-time wins, and Baylor, of course, has as well. They get tested by Kansas and West Virginia in the next couple of games. But Michigan's playing fantastic. They've lost 1 game this year. So just a thought about another team that's in that conversation.
And their whole coaching attitude of hiring a Michigan man only finally paid off with Juwan Howard. Mm-hmm. The football way hasn't really paid off since Lloyd Carr, but Juwan Howard has been fantastic. He's brought back kind of that. I mean, obviously it's not the same kind of swagger that they had with the Fab Five, but I mean, how can you equate that? I mean, that was kind of a once in a lifetime thing for anybody. But even still, he's a really good coach, and players are clearly really excited to play for him.
Well, and the Fab Five didn't ever really win anything. Mm-hmm. That's the most overblown group of talent maybe ever, because at the end of the day, they didn't even win anything. I mean, I guess the Big Ten or whatever, but that was a group that had a style about them. But even though he was a part of that, he's just down to strictly basketball business. It's not about the big baggy shorts or anything like the headlines when he was playing or recruitments or any of that. He's a good coach, and that's why there's already some talk about, who in the NBA could potentially come and poach him. Shoot, how desirable would an NBA job be, quite frankly? In some cases, if you look at the way the league's kind of going, it's like, how much control do you even have as a coach? So maybe he's got something starting pretty nice in Michigan that's going to last a while.
Baylor tomorrow can do a couple of different things they've never done before. If they win, they clinch their first ever conference title in the Big 12, but their first since 1950. If they win, it will be the first time ever in the series history, this is the 41st meeting between Baylor and Kansas, where they would beat Kansas back-to-back games.
Yeah, and you hear that and you think about all the times that Baylor's played Kansas. And
they're 7-33 overall, but 3-3 in the last 6. One in Lawrence last year, then we know that dramatic game that went down in Waco.
I do think that this team has kind of gotten the mental aspect, the mental hurdle of Kansas out of their heads. Because I think that was huge for Baylor for a long time. Because no matter how good some of those teams were, you could chalk up an L to Kansas. I mean, it just no matter some of those Elite 8 and Sweet 16 teams, no matter how good they were against everybody else, they weren't beating Kansas.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, you got to get that out of the way, right? And the fact that that's still something they haven't done, and here we are, it's 2021, hey, why not now? Why not change a little bit of history? They've got a lot at stake tomorrow, a Big 12 championship, beating Kansas twice, and all sorts of other different records that are in the mix. I know they're not focused on that, but if they just keep their head down and stay focused the way they are, then, yeah, there's a lot of cool things that are going to fall to the wayside and not be, hey, they haven't done this since this. It's going to be a lot of, they haven't done this since last year. They haven't done this since 2021. That's what they're doing right now, and that's what they can continue to do if they just keep winning games.
In fact, if they stay as good as they've been, then they won't even have any of that the last time, because they would have just shredded most of that like the football team was able to do for a couple of years and even a little bit a couple of years ago. Now, one of the things that they beat Kansas by 8 earlier this year, they led by as many as 16. They led from start to finish in that game. So Kansas remembers that as well. Kansas lost their last game on the road against Texas down in Austin, and they blew a double-digit lead in that game as well. So a lot of things, when you're 7-33, you're probably not going to have back-to-back wins. In 41 meetings, this will be the 41st meeting. Last year was as probably as good a chance as they've ever had, winning in Lawrence, having that game, and it was Kansas dictated the tempo in that game from almost the tip. And you could tell that they were just a little bit better that night for a long, long time. Then here comes Baylor with that run, and not enough to get back to where they could win that game. Yeah. I'm excited. I hate the fact it's a 7 o'clock game. I don't like waiting all day long for something like that. But, hey, it ought to be a primetime situation for Baylor to have a chance to, kind of flex their muscle again.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest difference in that game compared to the first one was Udoka Azubuike. Baylor had no answer for him here in Waco. And, Kansas didn't really have that player. Kansas's style, and the reason they've been able to win so much lately, is that if they can keep teams to 65 points, they're okay. I mean, they've got a shot. When it starts getting into the 70s, they don't really have the scores yet to do that. They've got some guys that are developing, but their story has been, look, if you're going to play in the 60s, they can do that. There's a Baylor team a couple years ago that, look, if you were going to be in the 60s, they were going to beat you. But it got to the 70s, then it was going to be tough. And that's this Kansas team right now.
Baylor can probably win a couple of different styles of games. They can win the 65-62 game, and they could also win the game 88-82 or whatever it might be. And, of course, that's about what they can do with their guards. And we don't know about Chama Chachua. We don't know his status. I do know that, of course, Baylor traveling to Lawrence, and we heard from them yesterday. Now, our guest lineup today will include Jim Meehan. He writes for the Spokesman Review. He covers Gonzaga basketball. He's a writer for them. I reached out to John Jacobs. I said, hey, who would you say is someone that knows Gonzaga basketball as well as anybody? He gave me Jim Meehan. He'll join us today at 3:30. Grayson on the latest commit at 3:45, and also what is expected to be a pretty profitable weekend as well. Andy Katz, national basketball analyst, March Madness 365 podcast, among many other particular podcasts and shows he's a part of. Matt Tate covers KU with Paul Catalina at 4:30. And yesterday, Grant Teaff met with the football staff, and today I had a chance to visit with him about that. He'll join us today in an interview at 5 o'clock. Jack and Armstrong run the mothership. We'll have Jim Meehan coming up at around 3:30. Let's break right here. Told me, if I ever get to a point where I have so much pain that it's almost unbearable, where I can't function, so I should call you. So I text him. He called me immediately. He said, okay, give me a scale of 1 to 10, the pain. Bottom line is he got me through the night. He met me at his office at 8:45 on Friday night. And then he was able to find a way to get me through the weekend, and then met me first thing in the morning, Monday morning, because I had a root canal that needed to be done. It's amazing customer service. And I'm telling you right now, he's got this ability, whenever they got to put that needle inside your lip or whatever that might be, your jaw, that's maybe as bad as it gets, right? He has a way of somehow making that fairly comfortable, which is almost like a miracle to me. I was joking to Jennifer. I said, it was such an easy root canal, I want to call and get another one. And she said, you're nuts, and yes, I am. I would never want to have to get another one if I don't have to. But if I need another one, I know Dr. Steve Childress at Stonewood Dental will be the one who performs it for me. He's amazing. In Robinson, Stonewood Dental, customer service and professionalism. Don't forget, the next time you have pain, next time you need a cleanup, next time you need anything, it's Stonewood Dental and Dr. Steve Childress.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
We've sent the nomination forms to area high school counselors for the 11th annual Academic All-Stars team, and we will find 20 elite student athletes who excel in both academic and athletic competition from Central Texas high schools. Hello, everyone. This is David Smoak. Our title sponsor is Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952. The 2021 Academic All-Stars program is also brought to you by Westdale Asset Management, Englander Design Pack, Southwest Sports Medicine, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Coca-Cola of Waco, Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating, Texas Sports Hall of Fame, HEB, the McLean Group, Universal Windows Direct, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, and the Waco Foundation are 501c3. Nomination deadlines March 31st. We'll eventually announce the team on Monday, May 3rd. Honor them at our annual banquet on Wednesday, May the 19th. It's the 11th annual Academic All-Stars team, highlighting the elite student athletes in Central Texas right here on SicEm365 Radio.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Are you ready to say big on a new 2020 Chrysler 300 Touring? A car with superior craftsmanship and quality. During the President's Day event at Allen Samuels, say big and drive a new 2020 Chrysler 300 Touring with special values of $7,250 or 0% for 72 months and $2,000 in combo cash right now. Visit the customer award-winning Allen Samuels, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco, to see the incredible 2020 Chrysler 300 Touring. It's the best President's Day event going on now at Allen Samuels, your friend in the car business. See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
And Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Men play in Kansas tomorrow night. Women host Kansas State tomorrow at 11. Baseball starts a series in Round Rock A&M today. Softball tonight. In fact, they are about the first pitch against UConn, and then Ole Miss tonight. Volleyball has UNT tonight. Then Sunday, I got a problem. They're playing Pepperdine at home. If you're going to play Pepperdine, you got to go play at Pepperdine.
I have a feeling that's probably Pepperdine would like that too. I don't know if Pepperdine's allowed to have stuff there yet.
Yeah, no, you're right. Track and field, of course, the Big 12 Indoor Championship meet in Lubbock. They got such an incredible facility.
I don't know,
so
Pepperdine,
that's going on.
Highway 1 and Highway 35, just about the same thing. Same view, same geography. It's like two different worlds.
The Pacific Ocean or a beautiful mountain is just like the Texas Best Smokehouse in Italy.
Hey, the Baylor
Ranger Hall of Fame.
The Baylor baseball coach left Pepperdine for Waco.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's explained sort of why, and I still have a hard time understanding why. Like, I don't know. I mean, I could see it. The California politics can get a bit wonky, and that state's not the best run. It's really not. And it's very expensive. That's the thing about California is it's so expensive. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely detractions, but like all things being equal, it's so beautiful out there. I mean, that area where he was, but glad that he's in Waco now. Yep. And hopefully the baseball team can get back on track this weekend.
Well, they have to play well. Who they're playing, A&M, Auburn, and then also is it Oklahoma, I believe it is this weekend. Now, Michigan, somebody said, okay, you mentioned Michigan. They're 17-1. They just beat Iowa badly. Their loss was to Minnesota, and that's a 23rd ranked team in the country by 18. But earlier in the year, they had beaten Minnesota by 25. They've also beaten Northwestern when they were in the top 20. Wisconsin was number 9. They just beat 21st ranked Wisconsin when they came back from the delay. Beat 4th ranked Ohio State by 5, and they just beat number 9 Iowa by 22.
And
so they're playing well.
And Iowa's got what many people believe is the best player in the country.
Yeah, Garza, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, big kid inside, big strong body inside as well. I have been blown away by the reaction on the question that I asked yesterday about what of the new facilities in athletics would you rather see done if they had to pick between one or two. Craig mentioned we'll ask this of Mac Rhodes the next time we get him on. And some of the responses have been, people for the most part, I would say it's still like 65, 70% the athletic, the arena or field house. From Barricade, is this even still a serious option with the powers that be on where they put it, whether in the site where the Farrell Center is now or somewhere downtown? But one of the other things that's kind of confusing during this deal is how a lot of people say the students can't get to downtown. They can't walk to downtown. Jack is telling us that they don't walk to the Farrell Center very often, and it's on the campus. And then there's even this question is Robinson Tower, which is where there's some land that has been discussed before, is that considered downtown?
I consider it downtown.
You do?
It's pretty darn close to downtown.
Well, it is in a way because it's right there, but it's like I never have thought of that as downtown. Just because you think of downtown, not like Waco has skyscrapers.
Because it's on that side of 35.
Yeah, I just kind of consider that whole area on that side of 35 downtown.
Okay, and so Ashley said the spot is closer to most of the campus than the Farrell Center, which is right next to the Robinson Tower. McLean Stadium is a nice walk, but they've got that big, huge bridge, the Humphrey Bridge, whatever it is that you walk across the concourse onto the bridge. And, of course, there's other ways of getting there as well. But I never thought of that as downtown. Not because, I don't even particular reason, but I guess that's, if you think about it, the Robinson Tower is Armstrong, probably a driver's 3-wood, maybe a couple of holes of golf away from the Hilton. Is the Hilton kind of considered downtown? Of course it is, isn't it? Yeah, I would think so.
But the Hilton is definitely downtown. But the other thing is you mentioned walking to the Farrell Center. I used to live, amongst the students. You saw some of my apartments back in the day, and I lived on 3rd Street, and that was fairly close, and I never saw anybody walking to anything. Not the Farrell Center, not Floyd Casey, or not Floyd. I mean, not McLean Stadium, nothing. I mean, that never. So
why not? Why don't they?
Yeah, that I couldn't answer.
I mean, if it's like it was last week, I understand you don't want to walk anywhere. But what, is it so you drive from around campus? Why would you not walk? My walk from where I was in the units to the Johnson Coliseum was a pretty good hike at Stephen F. Austin. I did that because I didn't have to worry about traffic. Jack, you have some comments on this earlier today before we started the show about the walking. And what is the reason of not walking on campus to the Farrell Center? Is it because of the distance?
Partly because of the distance. Another part is just the demographics you get at Baylor. Like, for as much as the scholarship money can help, a lot of kids here just have cars. So they're able to drive. It's more convenient. A lot of people want to end up going to get food after games.
Yeah.
All the food's on the other side of the highway. So why not just bring your car so you can get out of there quicker?
That's a great point. Just that alone would be a reason to drive to the Farrell Center so you can get out and go do whatever you want to do.
It is just, frankly, a bit too long of a walk from most dorms on campus. Because when you're thinking about campus, you can't think like the BSB, which is right there, catty corner pretty much. You got to think about where these kids actually live. And all the dorms are not near that corner of campus that the Farrell Center's at.
Most of the dorms on the south side of the campus?
I'd say south and west.
Yeah, south and west. Okay, all right.
There are the ones by the visitor center, like North Village and Heritage, but those are the athletes and the arts dorms.
So
either people who have other sports to go to, or people who, no offense to them, probably aren't going to many sporting events.
The walk to the Robinson Tower is about the same as it would be to the Farrell Center if you were on that main clump of right there on the campus?
I'd say it might be a little closer.
Yeah, but then there's how do you get there? Of course, there's overpasses and stuff like that, so you got to wonder about how you maneuver, especially with all the hell going on right now, up and down 35.
But if you were going to, like you said, if you were going to drive anyway, and like you put it downtown, there's more than just restaurants you can go to after a game. So,
I don't know if Baylor wants us saying any of that, but
yeah, I mean, there's shopping. I mean, you can always get it.
Here's T-Rex at the airport. By the way, he landed in Kansas City. God help us all. Demographic of Baylor students isn't college sports fans, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, that's something you have to take into account. I mean, the people who are listening to this show are not exactly the speakers for everybody. And there's a great number of Baylor students who could care less where the basketball arena goes because they're not going regardless. They don't care. So, yeah, we do have to realize that sometimes that we're so sports-centric, but the university as a whole is a whole different animal. And there's a large portion of people that just couldn't care less where it goes or where you have to walk or why you have to walk or whatever the case may be.
I think we're still kind of in the toddler stage of Baylor being a sports school top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, only football is a really big social thing, and I think that's more because of we're in Texas.
But yeah, but you look and football was not, when I got here 16 years ago, football was not a big thing. I had interns, I'd be like, you guys going to go to the game this weekend? Like, no, we're going to lose by 72. Yeah. I'm not going to go. And so it wasn't a big social thing. It was, the people who went, like the kids who ran the line, because that seemed to be fun, and then they would go run the line, hang out for a little bit, and leave.
They would have to have a decade on top of this decade, the last 10 or 11 years of success, to become almost like a sports type campus. And even then it might not be because of who's here and what they're here for.
Well, it really sucks that, even when the men were playing really well, they still, it had to be like Kansas for them to get a sold out crowd.
Yeah.
And even, other top-ranked teams would come in and wouldn't necessarily sell out. Now, the ladies, we know that their audience is a bit different, and they've got their loyal, fans that are going to they're going to turn up every single time. But for the men, it was always kind of hit or miss with attendance, and I just think it's really unfortunate that of all the things that we're losing this year, whether it be in the case of Baylor, financially what they're missing out on, or exposure-wise, or whatever the case may be. I hate that the basketball team, for the men especially, are losing out on potential crowds that they could have had this year. Being the number 2 team in the country, being undefeated, every game being so important, and some of these games like Kansas or others that you're playing where you're actually the favorite to win that game. I just think they would have been packed to the gills at the Farrell Center for this men's team. It's really unfortunate that they didn't get that opportunity. Yeah, there's a different crowd for the men's basketball, more of a student crowd than it is for the women's. We know that, no question about it. 254-339-1122. Your thoughts on that topic. We're now joined by Jim Meehan, the spokesman review. He's covered Gonzaga. Jim, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. When I asked John Jacobs, who do I call to get Gonzaga information and also insight, he said, call you. Forget the national guys, call you. So we appreciate your time. How long have you been covering Gonzaga basketball?
Full time, probably the last 12, 13 seasons, and then kind of helping out with the coverage going all the way back to 99.
Okay.
Their first run to the Elite Eight. So I kind of hopped onto the NCAA team there.
How much discussion is there at all, if at all, and not even saying they're wrong, having you on to talk about Gonzaga, but is there kind of watching around the landscape, Gonzaga looking
at it, Gonzaga and Baylor and separation at the top, and I think for a while there probably was, but it seems like maybe it's getting a little more bunched as conference play plays out and we get closer to the conference tournament. I think all these teams better keep an eye out. It's more than a 2-team or 4-team deal. That never works in the NCAA. It's always full of surprises.
Jim, they have not really been scared all that much. I mean, even Kansas, the first game of the season, they wound up really putting some distance there. Do you have an accurate grab of what could reasonably beat this Bulldog team?
Well, that's one of the things they run into every year. They dominate their league most seasons. Even though BYU has been a tournament team here, they would have been probably a 4 or a 5 seed a year ago. I think they will be in the tournament again this year as maybe a 6 or 7. St. Mary's has also been a tournament team quite a bit, and mainly kind of Gonzaga's primary rival for about 15 years. So they do have some competition in the league, but the Zags have year after year won the conference, and so they win a lot of games by double digits. And while that's easy on the heart and the stress level, it's probably not the best preparation for the NCAA tournament. But the flip side of that is the last 5-6 years, Gonzaga has found, I think they've just gotten better as a program, personnel, all the things that go into making a successful program. But, they're 15-5 in the NCAA tournament the last 5 years. That doesn't count last year when they went 31-2 and would have been a number 1 seed playing in Spokane on the opening weekend. One of the favorites for the title last year if that tournament would have happened. So there's a real plus minus to it. You'd love to see them more balanced, battle tested, I should say. But they found a way to make it work in March, and I think that's what they're hoping to pull off again this next month.
Jim, for those who are now starting to maybe learn more about teams from across the country in preparation for watching the tournament, and maybe some of those people haven't seen Gonzaga play, but they've heard how good they are, what would be your kind of scouting report or your breakdown of Gonzaga's style, their standouts, and what they bring to the table?
Well, they're a pretty high-level offensive team. Their numbers are as good as you're going to see in the college game. They average around, 93 points or something. They shoot it at 55% from the floor, close to 65 inside the arc. Now, those are kind of unheard of numbers, not just this year, but even through Gonzaga's history as kind of an offensive-minded team. Elite level offensive team with those guards, kind of a rotation of 4 or 5 guards, counting Corey Kispert, who's swings between the 3 or the 4 man. And then a quality big guy from Dallas area, Drew Timme, just hardly seems like he misses a shot anymore. I think he's like 30 of his last 36 from the floor. So he's a really skilled player inside, kind of a nightmare to guard because he's got just all kinds of moves in there. So they can really score it. The other thing that, has changed maybe in this last month is defensively they've made some strides. They've kind of entered that top 5 defensive efficiency in the Ken Palm rating, playing much better on that side of the ball. Had a little trouble last night with Santa Clara, the big front court that Santa Clara has. But, really have put it together on that side of the ball, and I think that gives them a better chance to kind of try to make this run coming up in the NCAA tournament.
What was the reaction? Because I know what it was here. We were about to broadcast a high school playoff game, and the news came down that Gonzaga and Baylor would not be played about an hour before tip-off. What was the reaction among the Gonzaga faithful and also even within the program?
Yeah, I think everybody was disappointed. I mean, I was, and I don't have a stake in the game. I just wanted to see it happen, I mean, those two teams were playing so well. It was a great stage and setup for college basketball. The top 2 teams colliding, and then to have it called off, 90 minutes before tip-off. Pretty disappointing. I think both teams kind of wanted to play it just to figure out, where they stand, what they need to work on. All those kind of things you learn from playing these marquee non-conference games. And one of the reasons Gonzaga schedules, they front load their schedule because, they try to get tested in as many ways as possible in the non-conference season. So they're playing Kansas and West Virginia and Iowa and Baylor, and they ended up Virginia was kind of the replacement game for the Baylor when that fell through, and that again is kind of Mark Few's philosophy. He wants to see a different style, and you don't get much more different than Virginia. And they managed to throw 98 points on the board against a team. That's usually about a 2-game total when you play Virginia, but they just couldn't stop them. So, yeah, I think that was disappointing. And then there was kind of hope for, for about a month or so that, maybe they can find an open date or something happens COVID-wise that they have a chance, a vacancy on their schedule, but it just didn't work out. So I know I jokingly wrote, half-jokingly wrote that I wouldn't mind a 7-game series. I think that would just be great fun to see these teams go at it. So hopefully it'll happen somewhere down the line.
Marcus, or Jim, as someone who's covered these teams for a long time and seeing what Mark Few has done, it's very similar to what Scott Drew has done at Baylor, and in that they're not based on one-and-dones. They're not based on, just shoving it all to the table to get one guy to fix it. It's about veterans and depth. Do you see real staying power with teams like Gonzaga and Baylor now, in that there's going to be the teams that have the one-and-dones and might, all collect lightning in the bottle, but the ones that really are going to be consistent are the ones that have veterans?
Yeah, no question. I think both of these teams, I know they've been called new bloods nowadays with the blue bloods struggling elsewhere, but I think both of these teams kind of have a formula, a proven formula with recruiting, with getting guys to get older in their program, their juniors and seniors, and how much they improve in that time period. I mean, Corey Kispert has gone from a guy who he's always been a great player, but for him to develop into a guy that's kind of seen as a potential lottery pick, All-American, and in the discussion for Player of the Year, those things you probably wouldn't have envisioned 2 or 3 years ago. Joel Ayayi, same thing. He came to Gonzaga as a 17-year-old kid from France, probably weighed about 160 pounds, and now he's a guy that's going to be earning all kinds of postseason awards and a key player on a number 1 ranked team. So I think Baylor's done the same thing. I mean, you look at those guards, Jared Butler and Teague, and they're bringing in transfers. Gonzaga's done that as well. And the key is those guys get better, and they have a tradition and a culture that when those guys move on, there's somebody there to replace them. And I think both programs have been hugely successful doing that.
Jim Meehan, again, he covers Gonzaga, the spokesman review with us on SicEm365 Radio. Up until Mark Few arrived, Dan Monson had come in, and they had an NCAA team in 95, but nothing for almost 100 years. What changed? Was it the fact that Monson put the fingerprint, set the table, and then Mark Few took it to a different level? What changed to make Gonzaga from what used to be considered Cinderella, or like, oh my gosh, to now someone who's expected to win a national title?
Yeah, I think they kind of had that breakthrough in '99 where they got to the Elite Eight almost out of the blue. I mean, I think it was just their second NCAA tournament appearance in program history. Dan moved on, was hired at Minnesota, and they elevated Mark Few to the head coaching position. And, you know, what Mark has done in these 22 years, not unlike what Scott Drew has done at Baylor. And the comeback story there, he's put a program together that relies on coaching continuity through the years. He's got longtime assistants. He's got a guy, Tommy Lloyd, that can really recruit internationally, probably as good as there is in the college game. When they weren't getting the top flight recruits or the top ranked guys domestically, they went over. And then just the caliber of player keeps going up and up. I mean, they're putting guys in the pros all the time. They had a couple of first-round draft picks, Rui Hachimura, Brandon Clark a couple years ago. And then, you know, they're starting to get the recruits on this. You know, they've got Jalen Suggs. He was in the top 10 last year as a recruit. They're in the running, probably considered the favorite by 24/7 Sports for Chet Holmgren, the top player in the preps this year, and another kid, Hunter Salas from Omaha, that's in the top 10 as well. So now they're getting kind of the best of all worlds. The international players, sit-out transfers, grad transfers, and the best players in the country. So they've just built it step by step. And the constant is Mark Few and athletic director Mike Ross, been here throughout. Tommy Lloyd's been here 20 years. And I think they've just elevated to a point where they're a contender for a national title every year.
Jim, we appreciate it. Anything else, guys? We appreciate your time. Hopefully we get a chance to visit again. In fact, we should.
I like that best of 7 idea.
Yeah, I think
we need
so.
to make that happen, yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah, me too.
The hope is, of course, at least one, but it would be fun. What a series that would be. Thanks for your time. Good luck with the Zags the rest of the way as far as covering what you do, and maybe we'll see you down the road.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Jim Meehan covers Gonzaga again, and appreciate his insight on what turned it around. They flipped the switch. They had one appearance from like 1908 to 1998, and that was in 95 with Dan Monson.
Yeah. But
and then Mark Few now, it's an annual deal.
Like, I'm in my 30s, and to me, like, Gonzaga, it's not like a Cinderella anymore. It's not like some team you're like, oh, wow, that's a cute story. Gonzaga's in the turn, or like, yeah, I saw the beginning of that 20 years ago, and now it's just normal. It's not even a storyline anymore. They're just one of the blue blood types. I wouldn't call them a blue blood necessarily, but they're as close as you can be to being one, really, without being one, that there is in college basketball. So I'd have to ask the basketball historians out there, but has there been a game that hasn't been played that's been talked about more over the last few years or more anticipated than Baylor Gonzaga?
I don't think so.
And I know we're on ground zero, so maybe we're just more focused on it. But I can't recall like 2 years ago seeing everybody going like, man, we just got to see Kentucky and so-and-so play. Like, maybe that's happened, but this is a game that just feels like it's been talked about more than just about any other possibility out there that I can remember in a long time.
I think this is kind of I don't want to overstate it, but a renaissance for what college basketball used to be. I mean, the Blue Bloods have always been there, but at least there wasn't this fait accompli of, well, it's going to be, Kentucky's got these one and dones where you can.
Clemson and Bama again.
Yeah, where you can fall in love with teams again, where you can, even if they don't win, but you can fall in love with a team because you know that Jared Butler's going to play for 3 years. I knew, like, part of the reason that Duke, outside of winning, was as popular as they were is that you knew you were going to get to watch Christian Laettner for multiple years. It was going to be like, well, I don't want to get attached to this guy. He's just going to the NBA. So I think we're seeing that a little bit come back because there are the teams that can do the one and dones, and the one ones that can't, and the ones that can't have leaned into the other way.
We got to go because Grayson's got news with Cedric Roberts, the latest commitment for Baylor football. There's one high school note. Kelly Shopik, no longer the head coach at Bruceville Eddy. He's accepted a position in administration at West ISD. As he wasn't there very long, but Kyle Shopik, congratulations on the opportunity to get into administration. Grayson Grundhafer next on SicEm365 Radio.
Impact Health Labs. If you need mass COVID testing for your school, your church, your office, whatever it is, they're the people to call. Go to impacthealthlabs.com. They will come to you. They'll do the test on site. You'll have them back within 24 hours, and they accept most major forms of insurance, so your out-of-pocket cost is low. 3 military-trained medical professionals founded this company knowing that the testing game had to be better. It had to be better than waiting for a week to get your test results when you may already have COVID. You'll know within 24 hours, and you'll be able to react with your office, with what's going on if you need mass COVID testing. So go to impacthealthlabs.com. That's impacthealthlabs.com.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online, pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhafer of SicEm365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
All right, here we go. Grayson Grundhafer has news from earlier today, the commitment of Hendrickson defensive tackle Cedric Roberts, and of course, what could be a pretty profitable weekend for Baylor as well when it comes to recruiting. Grayson, thanks for your time. Cedric Roberts, I had a coach at Cedar Park tell me he's raw, but that he has tremendous upside, angular, lengthy, and your thoughts about what Baylor got here?
Yeah, I mean, at 6'4", 6'3" by some measurements, 275 to 280 is right around where he is. Has great size for the defensive line, and you know that finding a guy with that kind of size, with his athletic profile, is very, very difficult to find. He plays basketball, so he's got good footwork, has good athleticism as well, can really jump, which is something you really want to see as far as explosiveness from a defensive lineman. And you put all that together with the fact that he's got a 6'9" wingspan. I mean, there's a lot to like with him, and I think you're going to see his stock continue to trend up even after this Baylor commitment. Baylor was his first offer, so you can bet there's going to be a lot of schools looking at him and trying to figure out, and see what Baylor saw in him. And I know he's gotten a lot of follows on Twitter, so just be on the lookout for that. He's definitely going to be one that's going to see his stock rise. But Baylor did the dirty work early, and they were able to find him early and get him to commit.
Does it make you nervous when a guy's got one offer and commits?
I think it's natural that it does. But, I mean, Paul, honestly, most people would much rather be in the situation where, he has one offer, but he's committed, than the situation where Baylor's trying to go after a guy who already has an Alabama offer. It's just a lot tougher. And if you look in the past few classes, Baylor's been able to actually hang on to some guys like that. One that comes to mind is TJ Franklin out of Temple, who Baylor found early, offered early, he committed early, and they were able to keep him, even though there were a lot of different teams talking to him late. Baylor was able to hang on. So I think that's a pretty similar recruitment comparison, and I think this is the way Baylor has to do it, and you have to not worry about what offers could come up next.
So in the last week, Colton Price, Cedric Roberts, Kelsey Johnson, Cody Mladenka, they've added 4 new commits, so now 6 members of this class. I know there's talk, Grayson, about even another commit possibly being on the way here in the next couple of days. Why are they having this run here recently?
Yeah, it's a very nice end to the month of February, and I think you're seeing the work that they put in January and early February when we talked, and I mentioned how many offers they have been putting out. Well, those offers are going to guys who are either being under-recruited right now, or they're hidden gems that Baylor's been able to find, especially when you talk about Colton Price and Cedric Roberts. Those guys very hidden. But they've been able to go out and build those relationships early, and guys seem to be sold on what Baylor's trying to build, and they really like the coaching staff, and those relationships are really winning out right now. And that's great to see. And now all this Baylor staff needs is wins next to their name, because once they get that, they're going to be very tough to beat on the recruiting trail, especially against teams that they're competing with right now.
Paul asked the question about, you get a little nervous from somebody who gets an offer, he commits, and I'm sure it's exciting and all that. My question is, does this have James Blanchard written all over him?
Oh, yeah. I mean, a bunch of these guys have James Blanchard written all over him. I mean, Colton Price was the same way. And, yeah, Cedric is in that same boat. James Blanchard found him first, built a great relationship with him. And, yeah, I mean, that's how it starts. And James has really made a habit of doing that. And that's why Dave Aranda and company wanted him back, because he does a great job of scouting and finding those hidden talents that are there. You know, they're there in the state of Texas. You just have to be able to go find them.
Grayson, the men's basketball team, meanwhile, has a big game tomorrow against Kansas. What are your thoughts after seeing them knock off the rust against Iowa State and pull that one out? And now this stretch they're about to go on, trying to win, one more game is a Big 12 championship, but obviously they want to win more than one.
Yeah, I think after watching that last game, there's definitely a reason to be nervous as they head on the road to take on Kansas, a Kansas team that has been playing a whole lot better. I think if Baylor hadn't had the COVID pause, I think Baylor's probably, on most nights, 10 to 15 points better than this Kansas team. But I think Baylor's still shaking off the rust. So I expect that to be a really, really good game. And it honestly wouldn't surprise me if it went either way, especially after watching the Iowa State game. It's clear that it's going to take Baylor a little bit of time to get back to their, mid-season form. But they need to do it quickly because postseason is right around the corner. So they have these few games left, and they also have the Big 12 tournament to try to gain some momentum. But it's going to be hard for them to go undefeated the whole way after that COVID pause. I think they really just need to, focus on getting their conditioning back, get their offense and defense back as well. Both were lacking a little bit against Iowa State, but I will say they're the best team in the conference for a reason. And even with that COVID pause, it would not shock me if they won every game or if they lost a couple games on the way. It's just a tough situation and really tough to gauge.
Grayson, you knew that there would be kind of the way you had been on the site in the premium section that Baylor was probably coming up on another commitment, as Craig mentioned. Was this one a surprise to you? Did this one come out of left field?
Yeah, and I mean, it has to a little bit. I followed Cedric already on Twitter, and I'd reached out to him. But the thing of it is these things move very quickly. And so this one in particular, because, guys, he committed when he got the offer. So there was no time to, he got the offer. Now, I'll go see what's going on in his recruitment, what's up with other schools, how's his relationship with Baylor. It was literally he got the offer and committed on the spot. And when that happened, this was a surprise to me as it was to everyone else. And before watching the film, I honestly thought he was a preferred walk-on. And then I watched the film and then obviously reached out to some people and found out, no, this was a legit commitment. And after watching his film, I don't know how anyone couldn't be more than thrilled. He's got great measurables and is a guy who, again, I think could be blowing up a little bit as his recruiting continues.
Thank you, Grayson. Good stuff. And I know you'll be busy over the weekend, so we'll be following you throughout the weekend as well. Grayson Grunhafer popped that with Cedric Roberts, who announced on his Twitter account that he got an offer and committed to Baylor University, the young man from Hendrickson High School in Pflugerville. When we come back, we're expecting Andy Katz, one of the national basketball writers, at 4:30. Matt Tate covers KU with Paul Catalina. My conversation with former Baylor head coach Grant Teaff at 5, and much more. We'll hear from Kim Mulkey on Dee Dee Richards and the Lady Bears as they are starting to put kind of that sharp edge on their run into the end of the season, into the postseason. This is SicEm365 Radio. IdealMRI.com. Inside the Central Texas Marketplace, right off of I-35, and then you take the access road, which is Loop 340 and Highway 6. I think it says Meridian, I'm not sure. But that is where the shopping center is, Central Texas Marketplace, and that's where Ideal MRI has their business. And why are they so special? For a lot of reasons. One, they have an unbelievable state-of-the-art MRI machine, state-of-the-art technology, everything you would ever want. Anywhere else you could get an MRI. And then also, that's kind of important always, is you can save yourself a lot of money. On average, an MRI can cost $1,100. On average, if it's $1,100, that means there's also some that cost $1,200, $1,500, $2,000, whatever it might be. An Ideal MRI is $497 or less every single time that you need an MRI. So if your doctor starts to talk to you or has been talking to you about something that's more than just something that really hurts, like it like shuts you down, hurts. The pain you might have, whether it's a ligament or a muscle or something, and they ask you about getting an MRI, you ask your doctor about how about Ideal MRI, IdealMRI.com. Saving you money, convenience, not a long wait. It's easy to get registered, to get into their system and get an appointment. And when you're there, you won't wait forever and ever and ever. You get right into it, and the specialists and techs are great. You'll get a reading from Dr. Maxey or somebody that will read the MRI, get in touch with you, and then you could pass along the information to your orthopedic surgeon or your doctor at idealmri.com. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trust the doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army licensed and credentialed medical professionals. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233 or online at impacthealthlabs.com.
Waco's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, bod pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof, where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change, your change.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Another shot fake. And the drive and the layup. And one for Jared Butler.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Andy Katz is one of the preeminent college basketball analysts, writers, columnists, and reporters, digital reporter. Also a part of At March Madness, 365 podcast, NCAA.com, Turner Sports, Big Ten Network, and all, Fox Sports, FS1. Andy, is there sometimes you get an assignment and you don't even know which assignment it is, which one you're working for?
I'm waiting for the Sic'em assignment, and something specific for the greater Waco area, and then I might, until I get that, I don't think I've made it.
Well, you did it because you're on with us right now, and we do appreciate your time. And you've had a chance to visit with a player or two, or with Scott Drew during this run. Your thoughts about where they were before the shutdown, and now the challenge of trying to get their feet back underneath of them as they were dominated until they just had beaten Texas.
So I actually think I've talked to almost every starter, except for maybe Jonathan. I mean, well, maybe I did. I feel like I've gone through the whole roster, it feels like. But what that also says to me is we don't just do the leading score, but it also shows to me the diversity of scoring on this team and how it can be a different player every night and how deep they are, in addition to obviously Scott and the staff. And so, that sort of speaks volumes to me about this entire season from the beginning that we've been doing this. Look, every team has come out of a pause differently. And the first half against Iowa State, you could argue mimics kind of Michigan and Wisconsin. They were down 14, snapped out of it, came back and won. Baylor down 17, snap out of it, came back and won. And then the second game and third games for Michigan, and I'm using a comparison here because I look at them on the same sort of line with Gonzaga, that'll be the test. And so if Baylor, once they get, I would think, and supposed to be fully healthy this weekend, or fully, the roster, that'll be the test. So, you got a Kansas team, and they just got beat, but for the most part, they're a top 3 Big 12 team. This will be a great test to see where they are in the post-pause. And more than anything, what I've found this season is it's rhythm and conditioning. It's not necessarily the skills, but it's getting the rhythm back and getting the conditioning. Because sometimes when these teams have been on hold, either the whole team hasn't been able to practice or a few guys, and, you can't mimic what was going on beforehand.
Andy, we were just talking about this season is kind of, I don't want to say a renaissance for the good old days of where you had veteran college basketball teams that were good before, the one and dones kind of took over. But are you seeing a shift in that the teams, Baylor, Gonzaga, the ones at the top are teams that have guys that have been in their school for a long time?
Yeah, so look, I'm not saying I was the only one saying this, but I felt pretty confident at the beginning of the season that experienced teams were going to figure this out better, just because of life experiences and maturity and being more conditioned to deal with, potential quarantining or isolation and having that, ability to sort of process that, which is not easy for anybody. I don't care how old you are. And yet the experienced teams have sort of risen to the top here. And so it's not a surprise. Although I would say overall, the trend has been for the teams that have reached the Final Four or championship lately to be teams that are much more experienced. And we've seen that really over the last 5 or 6 years. Teams in the Final Four have been dominated by experienced teams. So I think that trend will be even more heightened this season and even more so going forward.
Andy, just what have you thought about the way the Big 12 has shaken out? I mean, obviously, Baylor's got to win another game before clinching a title, but West Virginia, Oklahoma this year, Texas has been kind of up and down, KU's resurgence. So what have you thought about the conference this season?
Yeah, I mean, it's as deep as ever. With the Big Ten, they're the two best leagues. They're beating each other up, and I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens when they get outside of their league. And, we saw that in the challenge they just mostly recently had with the SEC, and no better example than Oklahoma beating Alabama, top of the SEC and a team that was sort of third in the Big 12 at the time, I think. So, that'll be an interesting test, but also I'm convinced, like the Big Ten, we're going to see Big 12 teams probably collide because there's going to be so many of them, in the NCAA tournament. Not in the first round, obviously you can't do that, but it could happen as early as the second, Sweet 16, Elite 8.
You mentioned Michigan, and obviously last night, very impressive. Are they, if you had a one line at the top, and of course there's 4 number 1 seeds, Would it be Gonzaga, Baylor, and Michigan right there among the three of those? Is that even in doubt right now?
No, I think Michigan has joined the party. They had one off night at Minnesota, and I think they are clearly the three best teams in the country. And I would not be surprised if any one of the three won the national championship. It's not going to be easy for anyone, but and if we got a Final Four with three of those four in there, I think that'd be great. I think it'd be highly entertaining and would sort of cap off an unprecedented year with the best teams making it.
What is it about Juwan Howard what is it about the job that he's done to where they've become so good? And I know Michigan was already a good program before, but what is it about him specifically? And does he seem like a guy that's longed for college coaching and being at Michigan for a while?
Yeah, I mean, I think because it is Michigan, his alma mater, it's first class in every sense of the way. I mean, it's as big time as you get in terms of the way you do things, travel. They've got money. There's not the same pressure because it's football driven. So I think all that, and look, he did it the right way. I mean, he was an apprentice. He was an assistant with the Heat, learning from Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra. And he's got tremendous respect among his peers. So he didn't just walk into this job. I mean, he earned it, hired a great staff. I mean, I think Phil Martelli's doing a great job for him, kept one from the Beeline staff, Fatty Washington. And then think about how Hunter Dickinson has improved in the course of this season. Then getting a transfer point guard from Columbia, and Mike Smith, who has really just seamlessly stepped in for Xavier Simpson. Chauncey Brown from Wake Forest. And then Isaiah Livers and Eli Brooks and some of their other veteran guys have just globbed right on to his teaching. And it's really been the perfect storm for them to have a great year.
Andy Katz is with us on SicEm365 Radio. Just a couple of more questions. You know the story of Baylor basketball with what Scott Drew has done. How impressed are you as him now as Scott Drew, the coach?
Well, I mean, look, I've known Scott for 20 years or more. I don't think this is biased to say, but I'm, good friends with the family. That's just a fact. They're incredible people. So all that is a huge plus. Yes. I covered Dave Bliss. I knew him for many years. It's a horrific thing that happened. And where that program was there, I mean, I was literally there right before he got fired and everything, and I saw it. And so I know what Scott had to take over. And then the unprecedented sanctions of the no non-conference. I mean, all those things. And then, he was much maligned. I mean, people viewed him as a threat, when he was suddenly getting players. And people forget, they've already been to, multiple Elite Eights. And that year, I think it was the 2015 year, if I'm not mistaken, in Houston, where they played Duke, if I'm getting my years right, where they had a chance to get to the Final Four that year. Is my memory right on that?
Yes, it is.
Where that game was in Houston, and played them very well. And they've just done a great job of finding the right guys for that program to excel. And he's kept the staff together, and really has done one of the most. And I would say that even if there wasn't a tragedy to come out of, you guys know. I mean, Baylor's history, yes, it's got a history, but it didn't have a dominant history in the sport. And he has taken it to another level to where consistently we think of Baylor as a semi-elite program where they're going to be in the mix. And that was never the case in the decades before that.
Well, they're a win away on the verge if they can win tomorrow, which won't be easy, but they did last year, if they have enough in them after the long pause of being a part of a Big 12 championship. Of course, they have some other games they still need to play. Andy, thank you very much for being a part of the show. Appreciate your work, and we hope to maybe see you down the road at one of these tournaments. Who knows?
All right. Thanks, guys. Stay safe.
Andy Katz with us on SicEm365 Radio. He is heavily involved with not only Fox Sports 1, but he does a lot of work now, a ton of work now for NCAA.com. In fact, had a really interesting interview with one of the doctors or someone that was a part of that COVID, the guidelines for the NCAA tournament. So get on his Twitter handle. It's at the Andy Katz, Katz.
Well, it was about this time last year, or I guess next week will be about this time last year, where I went to Kansas City and was there for about 27 hours before coming back. And hard to believe, and I guess also not hard to believe because it's felt like a long year, but it's been a year since that beginning of COVID, really, because that was the starting point. That was when the Jazz had their positive test, and I was watching in the hotel room that night, and that was the one night I spent in Kansas City because the whole world changed that next morning. And we did our show, and the tournament gets called off like midway through the show and all that. So I'm just glad we're, having the opportunity to see these tournaments being played. I know I've been skeptical about the Big 12 in some of these conference tournaments, but if they feel okay in doing it, then glad to have it, because last year we certainly missed it, and that was just a crazy time period to live through. So still dealing with the virus all this time later, but just managing it, I guess, maybe a little bit better, and hopefully it's managed really well during the tournament, because, again, the last thing you want to see is a team get in there, especially a team that might have a chance to win it, and, pop a case or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, just fingers crossed this thing goes as smoothly as possible.
Stephen Vaughn sent us a text, and I do remember that, Paul. We've already told that story about how we reacted that next morning, that morning, trying to get you guys back. Stephen Vaughn sent us a picture with his Baylor polo on, tickets from West Virginia. Mobile tickets for your WVU purchase have arrived, Mountaineer ticket office. I think maybe he might be headed to that game on Tuesday night,
Well,
Stephen.
I don't think West Virginia would be sending him tickets for anything else. So, yeah, that's exactly what it is. He's heading
good
to
luck
the game
with that
on Tuesday.
Have fun. Be loud. T-Rex also wanted to know, touchdown in Kansas City. Bill Self paid TSA to swab me, but nothing can stop me from watching Baylor sweep KU for the first time. Just win by one, control our destiny. I will not accept collect calls this time. We're not going to do it.
No.
Well, he's got a long wait until tomorrow night.
Yes, he does. That's a long wait. You can, if in fact there's a lot of things to do, you have a chance to be able to do them.
Does that make it a more anticipated game for folks out there that they have to wait until tomorrow night, or that it's a night that's a prime time game?
It kind of hit me. I was looking, what time it was. I'm like, okay, 3 o'clock tomorrow. I need to be at my house and ready to go. And then I looked, it's at 7 o'clock. I was like, okay, well, I got a lot to get done before that.
Yeah, a lot of time to kill, and I mean it's a big stage, This is a big opportunity for the Baylor athletic department to be on a Saturday night stage against the team that has absolutely dominated the conference and won all the titles basically. And now here you are with a chance to win your first one, and you're facing the team that's been in the way of everybody. You're in their place, and you're coming off of a rusty performance and a long layoff, but I mean, man, you go out and you win tomorrow night. That's an impactful W, not just because of the championship that would come with it, but because of the audience you're probably going to have as well.
I was looking at Gonzaga's schedule. They've played West Virginia, won by 5 or 6. They played Kansas, won by 10 or 12. They played Auburn, won pretty big. And of course, they've also played. It was one other team that they played as a common denominator, and they were supposed to play Baylor, so it's interesting. But you're right. The Baylor women play tomorrow at 11. They have a chance of most likely, it's just a matter of time, another Big 12 title. And then the men have a chance to get a piece of that tomorrow night. That's no better place to do it. You'd like to do it at home, but there's no better place to do it if you're going to do it and pop that bubble than you could do it at Kansas where you won last year.
I'm going to change the subject real quick here. I want you guys to see this. It's made a big deal all over the country when there's a first of anything. First this, first that, There's a first I'm seeing here. I saw this tweet from Washington State football. I don't know why I followed them. Maybe it was a Mike Leach thing.
Marco, he's a Texas guy.
Yeah. No. Josh Amira has been named the Director of Transfer Recruiting for Washington State. That is a title you will now see more and more of, and I'm wondering if he's the first one. And you heard Mack Rhodes a few weeks ago mention that you're probably going to have somebody on every staff that's their job is just the transfer portal.
Hey, sorry, Mac, I'll watch the portal. I'll just sit and hit refresh all day on the portal and see who pops in there every few minutes.
Yeah.
Let you guys know.
One of the other guys on that staff that I saw the name, that's Marcus Regalado. He was at Far San Juan Memorial High School. He's a character now. He was at Eaton High School as well, at Eaton, Texas. He's a character on Twitter. Yeah, how about that? That's a new title. Just another name, another position to be a part of. And you wonder if, in fact, Polian is going to have some of that, although that's, again, someone who sits there and watches the transfer portal. Well, you got to wonder about Dennis Polian and what role he's going to have in some of the personnel as they monitor what's going on. All right, when we come back, Paul Catalina had a chance to talk to it's Matthew Tate, right? Correct?
Matt Tate, yeah, man.
Matt Tate covers University of Kansas basketball. Grant Teaff at 5 o'clock today on his meeting yesterday with Dave Aranda and his staff, and it was interesting because I sent out two or three text messages to coaches on staff, including one of the newer coaches. So tell me about your opportunity to listen to Coach Teaff, and he was just blown away by it, as most people are. And I do get into the story about Grant Teaff and Rush Limbaugh up in Fort Worth back in 1990, I think it was 1997 or 1998, when Rush Limbaugh called Grant Teaff the greatest speaker he had ever witnessed. All of that and more still to come. We'll hear from Kim Mulkey on Dee Dee Richards and her basketball team. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Well, 2021 is finally here, and you can make it great by starting big at the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr. Got your stimulus and your refund check. Well, the government, if they gave you some of your money back, how about you take that money and multiply it with savings at Richard Carr? And you can find big savings right now, like a 2018 GMC Sierra or a 2019 Buick Encore for $16,800. You can get an almost new 2020 Honda Civic for only $21,900. Payments on late model cars and trucks for under $200 a month for qualified buyers. And they have hundreds of used cars and trucks priced to move during the New Year New Ride Savings Event. Other deals include 0% for 72 months on a new 2021 Buick Encore with payments of as low as $318 a month, no money down. Or you can get a money-saving lease on the stylish, intelligent, and nimble 2021 Buick Encore GX Preferred. That comes with on-the-go Alexa technology. It can be yours for only $293 a month. And all pre-owned cars and trucks are priced to move with amazing deals. So maybe your credit's as bad as 2020 was. Well, it's a new year. Now it's 2021, and 100% credit approval is Richard Carr's goal. So bring your tax refund or that stimulus check, and they will stimulate your stimulus with even bigger savings that will pay off for years. Go to Richard Carr Motors today for details and a test drive, or log on to richardcarr.com. That's KARR.com, and have them bring the test drive to you. Make 2021 the best year ever, starting with a new car or truck during the New Year New Ride Savings Event at Richard Carr.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
It's time to be brutally honest with yourself. Look in the mirror or weigh yourself. Do you weigh as much, more, or less than you did before the holidays or a year ago? Why not start the year in better shape than how you ended it and create momentum for 2021 and help strip the negative vibes, tension, pressure, and extra pounds from the crazy of 2020? It's time right now to join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness. It's so much more than a gym, including world-class tennis courts, lessons available with pros, fitness merchandise, tanning, massage, personal training to get you over the hump. I promise you'll look better and feel better than ever before. Just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Court. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp, spacious, clean workout room, free weights, Cybex cardio equipment, and no intimidation, a tremendous camaraderie and family atmosphere. So make this your best and healthiest year ever. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Are you a SicEm365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at SicEm365.com.
Matt Tate joins us here on SicEm365 Radio, covers the Kansas Jayhawks for the Lawrence Journal-World. And Matt, the last time these two teams played, they're both in very different spots. Look, Baylor's still done nothing but win, but they just came off a 3-week COVID hiatus. And, that's going to put them in a different spot no matter, how well they may or may not play. Kansas hadn't quite really found themselves yet. And then they went, through that period of where they kind of lost, 6 games in a row or whatever it was. How is Kansas different now than when they played Baylor the first time?
Well, yeah, they definitely are different. They have an identity is the biggest thing. They that usually shows up sometime in early January, if not late December for Bill Self's teams. And this team, it took a long time. And I don't know if that was entirely COVID related. I mean, they, like every team, they didn't have a summer to work out and bond and get that camaraderie and chemistry. And so I'm sure that hurt them a little bit. So that made it seem kind of weird, but looking for an identity still into February was definitely a weird place for KU to be, but they found it, and it took some soul searching, and it took some commitment to buying into what coach is teaching and things like that. And really their identity has been defense lately. They won 5 of 6, and they almost beat Texas the other night and looked good doing it. They have 8 losses, and I mean, I know it sounds ridiculous, but I wouldn't call any of those bad losses. They're all respectable, ranked team type losses, and so. The losses are weird. KU fans hate them, but it definitely kind of skews the picture. So I think once they found their identity and really bought into let's play defense first, second, third, and fourth, and then take whatever offense we get off of that and hope that by trying to get to 60 or 65 first, that can beat a lot of teams. And I think it can. They, like I said, they won 5 of 6. They won 5 in a row. A lot of those were against Iowa State, K-State, so not exactly setting the world on fire there, but they did have a good win over Texas Tech that they really needed, and then they played well in Austin, and as you know, Texas is a good team. So I believe they feel like they've found their formula that works, and they still don't have much margin for error on the offensive end, but their improved defense over the past couple of weeks has given them a little bit of breathing room, and really that's what it's going to come down to. Can they defend? And obviously that'll be the case on Saturday because you have to be able to slow down Baylor somehow and match what they do. And if you can't play defense, you're not going to do that.
Now, who do they need to step up to get to that point where they can beat Baylor? Because, I mean, even the most optimistic, defensive projections against Baylor would have them, probably holding them in the 70s. And that's not really where Kansas lives offensively.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really, it's a loaded question because there's a bunch of guys you could use as the answer, but I think the one that keeps coming up most and first is David McCormick. I mean, their season and every game has been so tied to what kind of energy and what kind of performance he's putting forth. And the biggest thing with Dave is the start. It's, if he gets off to a good start and kind of just calms down and plays within himself and gets a couple of good things to happen early, then he really turns out to have a pretty good game. And the rest of the team kind of falls in line after that. If he gets a little sped up and gets a little crazy, which he's prone to do, it usually turns ugly for Kansas. And that's kind of what happened in Waco. He was a little spastic early in that game, and Kansas has found themselves in a lot of, 10-2, 12-2, 13-5 type of holes early in the game. And while they've been able to come back in a lot of those and either draw even or pull ahead or get back in the game at least, it just makes it such a tougher climb right away. And I think the mental weight of that and the exhaustion that comes with, here we go again, we got to play perfect the rest of the way now. And we're climbing uphill the whole time. And, all those things they take a lot out of a lot out of a team, especially a team that doesn't have a real deep bench, doesn't have a ton of production coming off the bench. And so I think that the Dave McCormick start is so key to not only Saturday against Baylor, but KU's run in the Big 12 tournament, KU's run in the NCAA tournament. And, and it's not all on him either. That's why I said it was kind of a loaded question, because the reality is that, they've got to get more than just Dave. I mean, they've got to have Ochai Agbaji and Christian Brown making 3-point shots. They got to have Marcus Garrett and Jalen Wilson getting to the rim. And, that's sort of the formula. That's the recipe. And each one of those guys that I mentioned has shown at times, maybe multiple times this season, that they can do exactly what they need to do. It's just been very rare that they've all done it at the same time and been able to sustain it. So they believe, I think, that their best basketball is still ahead of them. They are feeling good about where they're at. And like I said, this last couple of weeks has not only helped them find their identity, but also some confidence. So it remains to be seen if this is still a team that can make a little bit of a run. But we'll know a lot more after Saturday, I think. I mean, if they go play a game like they did in Waco and look totally overmatched, I think that's going to be a big-time blow to their confidence. If they play a game like they played for parts of that game in Waco, where they cut it to 5 after being down big, they've proven they can be on the floor with Baylor. They proved in the season opener that they could be on the floor with Gonzaga. And again, the problem is just sustaining that and doing it consistently at all 5 positions with all 5 guys on the floor and throughout 40 minutes. So, no small task, but there's still plenty to like. I mean, there's a lot of teams that would like to be this Kansas team. That's for sure.
What was Bill Self ready for the lack of depth that he has this year? I mean, it's not something he's used to be able to, because again, they have one key injury and this team, could kind of spiral. Whereas before, even when, Dotson was out last year for stretches, they kind of rode it very well, but they don't have that kind of depth. Was he ready for that this year?
I think he is. I think he's been more ready for that. You're right. I mean, there have been teams that have had lottery picks that couldn't get off the bench, right? And that's how loaded they've been and how deep they've been. But it's kind of been a while since that. I mean, last year they didn't go real deep. Last year they had 2 All-Americans. That helped. But they didn't play 8-9 guys routinely, especially during the stretch run. And then there are other examples of that. I mean, we're going back to 2012 now, but that was a team that basically played 7 guys and made it to the national championship game. So maybe it caught him a little bit off guard, because I think he thought he had a lot more in a couple of those bench guys who just haven't found their way yet. Tristan Enaruna, a sophomore with all kinds of talent. He's always on the top of those NBA scouts lists when they come watch Kansas. I mean, he's a player they want to see. And for whatever reason, he just hasn't found it yet. And part of it's consistency issues and the other part of it's opportunity. But, you got to make your opportunity and you got to earn that playing time, especially for a guy like Self. So that's a guy that I think he expected more out of. Tyon Grant Foster was the number 1 JUCO rated player in the country. And I think they had higher hopes for him making an immediate impact and bringing some dynamic athleticism and scoring to the team. So yeah, there've been a couple of guys, Bryce Thompson, the 5-star freshman, who's actually started to play really well. He missed over a month with a back injury and a broken finger. So, he was emerging as their 6th man when he went out. And I think that if he didn't miss time, they'd have a pretty good 6-man rotation. And then 7, 8, 9 would be, there'd be a little less pressure on those guys, because I think Bryce would be really good by now. And maybe his best ball's ahead of him too. I certainly think it is for his career, but maybe for this season, he's still got a chance to break out. So, I think that there have been plenty of instances where Bill Self has had a deep roster and gone into a season and said, look at all this depth, look at all this depth, look at all this depth, and then still played his 5 starters 35 plus minutes most games. So it's not anything totally new to him, and it's not anything I think that he's uncomfortable with. He would love to give guys rest. He would love to not have to play his 5 starters 38 minutes, 39 minutes. I mean, one of them, I can't remember who, maybe Ochai, played 43 the other night in that overtime loss against Texas. I mean, that kind of stuff catches up with you, and it also makes it hard to expect guys to play peak level every time out when they're playing that many minutes. But I believe in the idea that these are still college kids. They're young. They want to play. 43 minutes is what they want. I mean, sure, they'd probably take a little rest too, but it's not like me trying to play 43 minutes at 42 years old, so that's the biggest difference to me. So those guys are definitely accustomed to it. And even last year, they did a little of that. So I maybe not fully ready, but willing, certainly.
What's going on with senior night? I know that it's supposed to be Baylor, but they have UTEP, and there's going to be technically, I guess, UTEP would be senior night, but the festivities are going to go there. It's a big deal to KU fans to have that streak going back since 1983.
Yeah,
they've won the senior night game, and I guess obviously having the number 2 team in the country come in that beat you before on senior night doesn't make you feel good. But how are they going to? I mean, for lack of a better term, spin that so they can maybe keep their streak alive?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're going to do all their senior night festivities on Saturday as planned originally. So, if there's any speeches to be given, they have 3 seniors. One's a walk-on, and then Mitch Lightfoot and Marcus Garrett. And, as all 3 could come back. And they haven't made any decisions on that. I know Coach Self was still having conversations with them. It hasn't been a real hot topic throughout the season. They've obviously had other things to focus on, and it's just not that pressing, right? But I think there's a good chance at least one of those guys will come back, and maybe the walk-on Chris Tien as well. I mean, I don't know why if you were a walk-on you wouldn't come back. If they're welcoming you back and you get another crack at it, go get started on your postgraduate degree and have another run of fun and stay in shape and all those things. So, there may be a speech or 2, but there may be none. I mean, I think that's kind of going to be weird. They'll probably honor them either way. But yeah, I think if they lose, then I think all of a sudden people look to the UTEP game and it'll be a little bit of revisionist history, but people will say, well, technically that was the last game when the seniors played. So that's, and so I think they'll come hell or high water. They'll make sure that thing continues as long as they beat UTEP. And luckily that's not a thing that like the NCAA is tracking, or it's not a real coveted record. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's impressive as hell. And there are a lot of programs that would kill to have that many senior night victories in a row. So it's par for the course at KU, but I don't think that it's like, there's going to be anybody crying foul or like taking it to court if they count the UTEP one instead of the Baylor one, if things don't go well against Baylor. But their focus right now, I know the coaching staff and the players, their focus is Baylor's our senior night. Let's go win that damn game, And so they want to win it because they don't want to get swept by Baylor. They want to win it because Baylor's a good team and would be a huge feather in their cap for their resume. They want to win it because, they want to get them back for the game they lost down there. So competitively, there's all the same reasons they want to win it. But obviously that plays right into the idea of why not win this senior game too? I mean, we're Kansas, right? That's still the approach and the mentality these guys have. So they know it'll be tough. I mean, they have so much respect for Baylor, and I don't know how you couldn't. I mean, that team is obviously hot and has been, and it looks like they will be well into the future right now. So it's a fun rivalry. It's a fun kind of battle each year, 2 battles each year, if not more. And so I think that, as much as they'd probably rather have K-State in there for senior night just to guarantee that, I think they're looking forward to the opportunity of making a senior night statement that actually can be heard, not just another win against the lower half of the Big 12 team.
Is there anything new on the NCAA? How do they feel about that? What's going on now? I mean, having seen it with how the NCAA has handled Baylor football, and 5 years later, sends out little dots of information. It's probably not abundance of clarity. Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, I think the expectation is still that this thing could go well into the summer, if not in the next season, and before there's some kind of resolution. I know that, Kansas obviously is fighting it and willing to fight it and appreciative of the opportunity to tell their side of the story. And it's on that IARP path right now, which is that new independent board or panel that's hearing these types of cases. So because of the path that they're on, it's really hard to know anything, because that's so brand new and we don't have a lot of precedent. We haven't seen a lot of rulings come out of that for any other schools either. And I think there's maybe up to 5 or 6 now that are involved in that, and a couple after KU, a couple before KU. So, they've got their hands full, and then you throw COVID into it, and that's delayed things a little bit too. I'm sure they all 2 years ago expected that this thing would be decided one way or the other by now, but here we are, still waiting and watching and wondering and speculating, and there's a lot still to kind of be determined. I think I know the biggest thing with the IARP is that the case was built and the notice of allegations came from the NCAA and this is a whole case, right? But the IARP has the authority to really just start all over if they want. And yeah, they get the case handed over to them, but they can reopen investigations. They can have interviews with whoever they need to. So, it really opens up a long process potentially. And I think that's okay too. I mean, you want them to feel good about the ruling they make, not just take a file from somebody that hands it down and read through it for 4 days and then say, okay, here's what we think. They probably should do a thorough vetting of the situation, and it is complicated. So, yeah, the last self said anything about it, and he doesn't talk much about it and doesn't have much to say because it's just not something they can talk too openly about. But the last he said was that he doesn't think it'll be any time until late summer, early fall before there's some kind of resolution, and even that's probably as much as anything a guess. I know they want it to be put behind them. I know they believe in their innocence still, and I know that he's been very open about what it's done to their recruiting process. So. For no other reason, they want to put it behind them for that, just so they can maybe get back on track and not just have it hanging over them. But until it is, it's going to hang and it's going to be a factor for sure. Yeah, if the NCAA was in charge of driver's license renewals, we'd all ride the bus. I mean, honestly, that's just how it works. Well, Matt, thank you so much for doing this. I wish that we were doing this where we would see each other at games, like the normal times. But I know maybe next year we'll have that. Definitely next year. I don't like the maybe sound, Paul. I'm not mentally prepared for maybe. I'm still trying to figure out Indianapolis and what I'm going to do up there. But I haven't traveled any this year, and it was my choice. It just seemed like the safe, smart thing to do for my family and whatnot. But while I haven't missed those 6 a.m. flights home from Dallas or whatever, I have missed being on the road and feeling like I'm actually covering this team. The home games have been different too. So it's been a wild year, as it has for everybody. And so hopefully the tournament's fun, but hell, I'm just happy there is one after not having it last year, whatever it means, however it looks. Thank goodness we're going to have March Madness again, because that was way too weird to not have. And I don't want Virginia to be a 3-year defending champion by just winning it once. So let's play ball. Right. And I think it'll be a great tournament. I think it'll be
I wrote this the other day. I think that the seeding thing will be, Baylor's a 1, Gonzaga's a 1, that you can trust. But because of COVID and the interruptions and the disruptions and everything, I mean, you could have a team seeded 3rd or 4th that maybe missed 6 games that would have gone 2-4 in those 6 games. And maybe would have actually been a 5 or a 6, but they're a 3 or a 4. And then you could do the flip side of that thing too. So I think the seeds are going to be really hard to trust this year. It's going to make filling out a bracket hard. And I don't know if that means more upsets or more craziness or not, but I'm excited to find out, because I think it's just going to be more than ever matchup dependent, right? Like, who are you playing and how do you match up with them? It doesn't matter if you're a 3 and they're a 14, or you're a 3 and they're a 10, or you're an 8 and they're a 1. I mean, if you match up well, you match up well, because these unbalanced schedules and records and all that are definitely going to throw a kink into it. So it should be a blast. I can't wait.
Matt Tate, Lawrence Journal World with us here on SicEm365 Radio. That was great talk with Matt Tate. Always a fun guest to have on. He's a really cool guy. When we come back, more SicEm365 Radio plus Grant Teaff in the 5 o'clock hour. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. If you are, looking for, a great bottle of wine this weekend, maybe some spirits, maybe some beer. They got great craft beer there. Whatever you're looking for, Riverbend Liquor and Wine can point you in the right direction. They got a great selection of balconies there. They got great selections of everything that they have there, and they've got a great, knowledgeable staff. Convenient drive-through window. They got a little cleaned out last week before the winter storm, but I'm sure that they are back loading their shelves and with the fantastic inventory that they have. Lakeshore Drive in North 19th Street in Waco. You can find out more on Facebook and Instagram and see kind of all the cool stuff they have. And again, I'll tell you, if you're a craft beer fan, just walk into that fridge and you will definitely see what it's all about. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, a hidden gem in Waco. Lakeshore Drive in North 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Get the vehicle you've been dreaming about at the President's Day event at Allen Samuels. The 2020 Dodge Charger SXT, ranked #1 in initial quality and driver appeal, has special values of $6,170 or 0% for 72 months, plus $3,000 in combo cash. The 2020 Dodge Charger is at the forefront of muscle car design. From the body to the wheels, it continues to impress. Visit the customer award-winning Allen Samuels, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco, to see the 2020 Dodge Charger SXT. See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Y'all listen up.
Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line. Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Have you downloaded the SicEm365 Radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play.
Here we go, SicEm365 Radio. What did I miss?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing. A commercial break. That's
Just
it.
got off the phone with Cedric Roberts, got off the phone with his mother, Latasha. He will join us, the latest commit for Baylor football at around 5:20. We'll have Grant Teaff today a little bit after 5 o'clock as well. Ashley Hodge just put up a note. I think it was Jason Keene that gave him this note, that Kansas has won 37 consecutive times when it's been their senior night.
Well, I talked about that with Matt Tate in the interview, and they've got this bizarre thing where they've kind of split it now because they're going to play UTEP next week because they don't want to get rusty in between.
Right.
And they're done with the conference season on Saturday. So their senior night festivities are technically Saturday. That's where they're going to do all of them. But the last home game will be whatever day next week they play UTEP. So if they do lose it, they can kind of retcon their senior night thing and say, well, I mean, senior night's the last night that they played. And all the seniors can come, Matt brought this up, all the seniors can come back if they want to.
Yeah, I know.
So maybe it's not technically a senior night.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's kind of how, that's when the last football game, you didn't know who was coming out, why we were coming out. It was weird. Oh, I thought you were getting ready to say something. Sorry about that. So 37 consecutive times, so they have almost like a way that if they don't win tomorrow night, they could say it's UTEP, right? They can kind of do it that way as well. So women tomorrow host Kansas State. They're on the precipice of, would it be 11 consecutive regular season titles in the Big 12? And only one during that time that they haven't won the tournament when West Virginia knocked them off a handful of years ago. So Dee Richards is she plays with so much obviously passion. She plays fearless. That's a lot of times why she gets in these sometimes she gets beat up a little bit, and we know about the practice earlier in the year back in last year with Moon Urson. So Dee Richards is playing at a tremendous level. This is Kim Mulkey on her relationship and also how she can coach Dee Richards.
No, and because of her personality, I can throw a lot of stuff and say a lot of things to Dee that maybe I couldn't to a freshman because they may still lack the confidence or, they're finding their way. With Dee, she's going to be harder on herself than I can be on her. I don't think about her injury at all. I did early when she came out there, and I communicated with the trainer and said, Alex, you got to let me know, when I need to take her off the floor for conditioning or for anything. And I've actually forgotten about it until we talk about it, with the media. That doesn't even go in. I never even think about it during the game.
She did, though, what was it, a week or two ago when she had that, when she got knocked down and was taken out, and there were thoughts that it might be something. Remember that there was even the concern about whether or not it was ever a concussion protocol, which it never was because she was looked at in the locker room and came back and was a part of the bench, didn't play that night. But, this team's starting to play well. They did not, to me, look like a Final Four team, and a lot of it they had their own pause. But they didn't, there's something missing, and I'm still not so sure what it might be. It might be the fact they don't have enough oomph on offense.
I don't think they have a Lauren Cox or just a dominant set of star. Like they're I don't know, like they've kind of had standout players, and I feel like Dee's a standout in a way, but maybe not nationally known that way. And elsewhere, like Nalissa Smith's really good, but is she in like the player of the year conversation? Not really. Not right now. I mean, maybe a little bit, but I don't know. There's just not that sure thing, I guess.
They can play that, Kim Mulkey style of basketball where they just smother you on defense. But if they have a night where Somebody's hot from, there's only one way to beat them. We know that. If somebody else is hot from three, they don't really have anybody that can match that so much. So if you've got a team that's just bombing threes, they're not going to do that.
Oklahoma hit a bunch of threes, and, they're playing a lot better. Oklahoma's got that Matty Williams, who's very talented, very athletic as well, and a problem to guard. And they hit a bunch of threes and kind of hung around. In fact, had the lead early. But eventually Baylor just wore them down. That was the road game in Norman. But you're right, teams that shoot the three well. Of course, any team that shoots the three well on a night has a chance to beat pretty much anybody.
I don't know how to describe it. There's just something missing from this team that prevents me from getting into the national championship talk and the stuff like that. There's just a little something missing, and I don't know how to quite pinpoint it. I think I kind of go back to just the lack of having a couple of stars, that you can lean on, and maybe I'm wrong on that. I don't know, but it just feels like there's just something missing that prevents me from viewing them as just regularly being good like they always are, and certainly not taking conference titles and things like that for granted, but prevents me from just kind of the norm and then talking about bigger tournament titles and winning a national championship. There's not a lot of buzz for that right now with them, there's just, you don't hear a lot of that conversation at the moment.
Well, Alyssa Smith is someone who probably should be getting more attention because she's been on a tremendous run.
Absolutely.
And I think they'll go as deep as how much Queen Egbo can help them out with what she does. On occasion, she can kind of disappear on offense, her rebounding is pretty good. She's had a couple of nice games. But this Dejanay Carrington surge that she's been on, she really has become very good and very confident, and she gives them that extra score other than Moon Urson and Alyssa Smith inside. But it's hard to replace when you have Kalani Brown, which what she was inside, and then obviously the dominant defensive enforcer in Lauren Cox, who also could score for you and was just someone that won all her life. It's hard to kind of replace those, and that's where you have Smith and Egbo, and you hope that eventually you have more to come. Sarah Andrews is starting to get a few more minutes as well at the point guard position. Kim Mulkey asked if her team is starting to get on one of those runs.
Absolutely, I do. I feel like that we're playing good basketball, and I think that's because we haven't had any interruptions since, the Iowa State game, really. But I also worry. I worry about the conference tournament coming up, and I worry about, after that's over, how many teams and programs will be affected, if at all. Those are things that are just added to your stress level that you don't normally have to have. You don't ever have to be stressful about. It's just the way it is this year.
And that's Kim Mulkey. They play again tomorrow, 11 o'clock, a chance to clinch the 11th consecutive Big 12 title with a win against K-State tomorrow morning.
I'm trying to figure out how to best summarize my feelings. I guess the best way to say it is there's just a kind of a lack of buzz with them. You know what I mean? And maybe that's because the men get so much attention right now because of the way they're playing it, rightfully so. But, yeah, the women are right there, and they can go into the tournament and make a lot of noise, and they are seemingly hitting their peak right now, right about the exact time you would want them to. It's just been a quiet year. It's just been a quiet year for them in the grand scheme of things.
And very rarely have they been a quiet year for them. They've kind of been outside that top 6 or 7 since the loss to Iowa State. And, of course, Iowa State themselves have had their problems. Baylor's won 10 straight. Kansas State tomorrow. Texas on the road Monday. At Kansas a week from tomorrow. And they close it out on a Monday night at home against West Virginia. And West Virginia, of course, is hanging around as well as a part of the conversation, but lost their last game. When we come back, Dave Aranda reached out to former Baylor head coach Grant Teaff and asked him to come visit with his team. Come visit with his coaching staff, especially with new coaches in Mateos, Grimes, Stuckey, and obviously Kevin Curtis, who will join us on Tuesday evening, by the way, during our show. Baylor plays basketball that afternoon at 4. What game's on an afternoon game in Morgantown? But he asked Coach Teaff to come visit. And I had a chance to visit with Grant Teaff earlier today about the time he was invited. Also, even going back to some memories with Rush Limbaugh, who passed away, of course, recently. Grant Teaff on the Baylor coaching staff, on Dave Aranda, and what he does say or what he's asked to say during these meetings. This is SicEm365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, and they are loaded up with back-to-back Motor Trend's Truck of the Year in the Ram truck. They're loaded up with a lot of other incentives when it comes to Jeep and Chrysler and so much more. Ted Teague, of course, runs Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. They are loaded up, though, when it comes to the Ram truck. And I'm telling you right now, they have incentives. And then, of course, we're about to flip into another month, and they'll have more for you as well with what you want to drive when you want to be able to have something that's reliable. Back in May of last year, I finally made the change and bought a car from Alan Samuels. And when we had all those winter, nasty, icy conditions, had I had my old Tahoe, there would have been mornings when I woke up where I wasn't sure I'd even want to go to the car and even start it if, in fact, it would start. Now I've got that car that I bought. AJ, of course, is the salesperson who's been amazing ever since the buy and, of course, leading up to the time I committed to it. And it's so nice to have a reliable car. It's amazing. And for a long, long time I did, but then again, there were times when I didn't know. Would it start? What's going on? Would the engine give up? So you can get something really special right now at Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. The new Dodge lineup, the first domestic brand ranked highest overall in J.D. Power's initial quality study. The Jeep Celebration event, which pretty much goes on all of the time. If you want to get a Grand Cherokee or something like that, absolutely phenomenal opportunities, incentives, discounts, and more. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Over the middle, he has Ebner in for a touchdown.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Teaff, Hall of Fame coach, joins us on SicEm365 Radio. You were invited by Dave Aranda to meet with the staff. A lot of them had been retained from the year before, but some new faces, especially on offense. Plus, they have a new cornerbacks coach in Kevin Curtis. What does it mean to you when the staffs that have come since you were there, when they've reached out to you and asked them to ask you to kind of maybe share some ideas, memories, and how Baylor is now compared to when you were there?
You know, Smoak, it feels very good to me, very rewarding, because not only have I had the experience of being a head coach on 3 different levels, but I have been involved in football with the American Football Coaches Association for 21 years past that. So I'm not like just some fellow that has coached at Baylor before. You know, I have experience and connections and knowledge about the inner workings of the national game, and so it pleases me. Here's my approach, and it has been ever since I left Baylor, and it's a simple one. Smoak, I'm like a big kid. I speak when spoken to. And if a coach out there wants my opinion or advice, I give it. You have noticed through the years, I have never given advice on the radio to any coach. I have never talked to anybody secretly or privately about the coaches, how they do this or do that. I just felt like I always wanted to be treat others like I want to be treated, and to me, that was the way I would have wanted to be treated and was when I came in here.
You've seen many different personalities, different type of styles that have come since your last year as a head coach. And of course, you know, Coach Reedy took over right after you did. But your thoughts about Dave Aranda, and what does it mean? And I've asked this to other people who cover college football, and I know what it's meant to me, but he understood there was an issue or there was something that did not work offensively. They've made changes, and he made them very emphatically. What does it say that he wasn't afraid to make those decisions? And who and what do you think of Dave Aranda?
Well, I personally think the world of him. He is a man of extremely high character, and I place great value on that, Smoak. And besides that, he's a very experienced football coach. You go back and look at his record, where he's been, who he's coached with, and that makes him a prime candidate for a head coaching job, because in filling a football staff, you could go back and pull on those acquaintances and relationships that you had previously at different places. You can pick the best of the best, so to speak. And I believe he's done that with his staff here. I had the privilege of meeting with them yesterday, just sort of in a talk-around session, and it was very pleasing to me, because I have sort of admired Coach and this staff from afar since they've been here. And I really like the changes that has been made, what's going to come of that change from an offensive standpoint. But they're quality men with wonderful families, and they buy in to Baylor, and that's what I like. I think they understand it, and they realize that they have something special here at Baylor University, and that you can build something not just good, but great here.
Coach, everyone knows the story about when you arrived, what the weight room was like, if there even was one underneath the bowels of Floyd Casey Stadium. Everyone knows what you had to do to reach out to help raise the money, the phone call you made South Texas to get the AstroTurf when they had nothing. They had this stadium. And now Baylor has facilities up and down University Parks that are amazing. A McLean Stadium that's amazing. The track and field place is amazing. Clyde Hart's track and field complex. How important is it that you share where Baylor used to be and compare to where they are now?
It's really interesting because I do not turn green with envy as many might think I would when I drive down University Parks and see what has taken place, and then to go into the facilities and see what Baylor University has and the value that they place on their athletic program, and to see them hire men like Coach Aranda really makes me feel good, because Coach Aranda is a coach that is a terrific, experienced coach, as you can look at his resume, but he wants young men of character on his football team that will do in the deepest, darkest part of night what they are supposed to do. And he has to recruit young men of character to do that. And that's what he believes, and also his staff, that if they can surround themselves with athletes that have a good upside and their ability to coach, and that person has the character to stay in school, to do their job on the academic side, and then to do it on the athletic side, he will always have an extremely competitive program, and ever so often I believe they'll compete for the national championship.
I reached out to some of the assistants and just asked them, I said, I know Coach Teaff was there today and sharing stories and giving some thoughts about coaching or answering questions. One of them said to me, he was amazing. I could listen to his stories all day. Another one said, it was a treat as usual. Everyone was sitting there just soaking it in. It was great. And then also, he was very enlightening, very convicted in his beliefs as a coach. I loved every second of it. Your thoughts about that kind of response to you?
Wow. Well, as someone that is asked to present something, whether it's before a large crowd or a small crowd, I do, and I think folks that are asked to do that have a desire to prepare and then to present. And then after you prepare and present, you are hopeful that it is received in the way that it was given. And that word that you just brought back to me is very, very important to me. It really touches me, because that's what I want to do. I have no personal claim to being somebody that they can call on and give them all the information. But I deeply appreciate them recognizing the years that I spent at Baylor University, both as a coach, as athletic director, and now as just a strong supporter of all the athletic programs at Baylor.
sometimes the youth, and I'm not just saying coaches, but even, sometimes student athletes, they get a bad rap that they don't listen. That, that's what you did back then or whatever. I'm 61, and sometimes when I speak to young sportscasters, I hope that they understand I'm not trying to tell them what to do. I'm trying to share stories about where I was, where I am, or what we used to deal with. How important is it to listen no matter how old you are or who you're listening to?
Well, my belief is that if you do not take advantage of opportunities to improve whatever needs to be improved, your presentation, your attitude, your purpose in life, all of those things can be enhanced by someone that you listen to, that has had experience, that you respect. And therefore, by listening and by applying, you can become a better you. And that's what I want to try to do with every athlete that I've ever coached, every coach that's been on my staff, all of the American football coaches, the thousands that I had the opportunity to try to help develop. And the foundation of all development, no matter what position you're in, from the President of the United States down to the lowest job, if you apply character personally to everything you do, you will make few mistakes, and you will come out on the other end a better you, whatever you're doing, by the application of the simple aspect of human character.
One more thing, as you know, recently Rush Limbaugh passed away, and I know that there was that time when you shared the podium with him, when you were asked to be the keynote speaker. And of course, Rush Limbaugh, bombastic, opinionated, and also someone who can grab the attention of whoever he is speaking to, whether it's when his radio show for years that saved AM radio and became the #1 rated talk show host in America, or anything in person. You recall that was like 1997 or so when he spoke and then you spoke and then he was blown away by what you said?
Yes, I do. It was very interesting because, I was very excited to hear Mr. Limbaugh because I had listened to him on the radio, and I think your word was perfect, his bombastic presentation each day, but he always had good meat in the things that he presented and made you very thoughtful. So I was very excited to be there with him, and quite surprised with the response that he gave after we had that night of presentation. I think it was up in Fort Worth, and it was very, very exciting to me just to be with him.
I know you got to go. You got an appointment to get to. How you doing? Everything fine? Are you guys safe and sound? And how you handling all this?
You know what? We've been hunkered down. And I tell you what, Donnell and I are both pretty competitive. So when you get hunkered down, you try to find ways to, fill the time and be, positive. I'm working on another book, and so I spend time doing that. But we decided to play at least one game each day. So for the first 50 days of this lockup that we've been in, that woman beat me unmercifully. 50 days. I was beat down like a little bitty puppy, I had to have a victory, and finally I got one. I won on the 51st day, Smoak, and I quit. The sportsman that I am, I quit a winner.
You went out on top.
I went out, and that's all I talk about.
Was that bigger than beating Texas in 1974?
Oh, bigger, much bigger.
Coach, as always, I think it's awesome that Dave Aranda and his staff invited you to be a part of that yesterday. It's always great to hear from you. Play again. Keep winning. Thank you so much for your time, and stay safe. We appreciate everything about you.
Thank you, Smoak. You're the man.
Grant Teaff on SicEm365 Radio.
Man, that story about he and Donnell playing for 50 straight days, and she beat him in a game every day. And then he got the 51, and he got it, and he said, I'm retiring like the sportsman that I am. Appreciate his time. The text that I got from some of the coaches on staff are just what you would expect anytime they've heard from Grant Teaff. All right, coming up next, he's the latest commit to Baylor football, Cedric Roberts. He's kind of an unknown, but he's about to be known, and he's a known now among Baylor faithful and, of course, the coaching staff and Dave Aranda. Young man from Hendrickson High School will join us next. This is SicEm365 Radio. PettyClinicLowT.com, comprehensive men's health care, low T therapy, and even helping with sleep apnea. Petty Clinic Men's Clinic, PettyClinicLowT.com online. They're located on Old Hewitt Road, just off of 84 in Woodway. Here's what he can do for you. This is what Petty Clinic does. They find out if you have an issue with too much of a drop in your testosterone level. You need to be at a certain level depending on your age, maybe even your body style. So Dr. Kent Petty wants you to do this. Contact his office, PettyClinicLowT.com, and they will set you up to get blood work. They will get your blood work back, get a discounted rate of your blood work. Tell them Smokey sent you. They'll get your blood work back. They'll get your testosterone levels. And if your testosterone level is too low, Dr. Kent Petty will put you in a program that will help you raise your testosterone levels and also help you become the high-performance man that you want to be. Stamina, sleeping habits, also your energy, and focus. And yes, also, if you have problems when it comes to sex drive, ED, something that might be a part of something you're missing, or maybe all of the above. Get your blood work. Let him look at the levels. If it's low, he'll put you in a program to help you become the high-performance man you want to be. Dr. Kent Petty at PettyClinicLowT.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care.
And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The Sic'em365 Radio app is sponsored by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
All right, earlier today, we heard the news that Cedric Roberts of Hendrickson High School, Pflugerville, had committed to Baylor, got an offer, and committed almost immediately. Cedric Roberts joins us now on SicEm365 Radio with Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, and I'm David Smoak as well. Cedric, thank you, young man. Appreciate your time. I know you got a basketball playoff game. Hendrickson's making a run. You've had a couple of games this week. We'll get to that in a minute. So tell us the timeline about Baylor contacting you and how quickly you were able to turn this around and accept it.
Yes, sir. It's been a crazy. They've been talking to me for a week now, and it's just they've been talking to me for a minute, trying to give me an offer and all that, make sure everything's set. And just crazy.
Why was you got your first offer? Were you just ready to commit already? I mean, just because you knew the process was going to be long. Take us through why first offer. This is the place for me.
The reason I think it's the first offer is because it's right down the street from where I live, and it's also a D1. It's a big school, big all time, and it's just an all-around great school. That's.
Cedric, who were some of the main coaches that you talked to, and what were some of the things that they said to you about why they liked you and what they saw in you?
Well, for one, Coach Blanchard, he been there since day one, and Coach Bell talked to me. I'm a big target. I'm a defensive. I'm just the biggest he could be, and I have big accomplishments.
You know, you've been playing basketball a long time, but you've played football for quite some time. I spoke to an opposing coach about you because I talked to Coach Killian earlier to get in touch with you. Eventually we did. But I talked to an opposing coach who said that you have tremendous athleticism and also rangy, angular, your wingspan, and that you have tremendous upside. When you hear you have tremendous upside, what do you think, and what do you think you have as far as your tremendous upside?
I'm gonna say bounce. I can definitely get up there.
Got some bounce, got some hops, huh? Is that just come naturally?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Well, you know, the first thing I got to ask is you mentioned getting the offer and then boom, Baylor. Was there a part of you that ever thought about, okay, this is the first one, there might be many more, and I'm sure there will now be more and more because of Baylor's offer and your commitment that want to maybe see a little bit more about who you are. What was there ever a thought about waiting hey, Baylor's thrilled and so are Baylor fans, but was there ever a thought about seeing what else would come afterwards?
I think this offer will also give me more notice, but I didn't take it just because it's Baylor. I took a look at the outside of it, how great academics, and it's just all around beautiful school.
Your mother said it was one of your favorite schools. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Why? Why was that?
Well, it's just I can't explain, but it's just crazy.
Is it one of those things they say? I don't know. I felt like this when I went to the college I went to. When you got there, it just felt like where you needed to be.
Yes, sir.
Did you grow up? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, my bad. You good? My bad.
Did you grow up watching Baylor much? A lot of people, when we hear them commit to Baylor, they talk about RG3 or Corey Coleman or whoever it may be. Who did you watch growing up from Baylor?
I actually knew a player that went there. Oh, what's his name? I can't think of his name, but it was a DB, but he actually ended up dying from
Chance
college.
Watts.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So Chance, Chance was. That's a sad story. We've had former players on. He went to Henry. You're right. That's exactly right. Did you ever meet him, or did you just kind of watch him as someone who was a little bit older than you?
My brother played with him, and also I did watch him. He was really good. He's very talented.
Your brother Shaylin plays at Kilgore College, and I saw one of your tweets was with him at a game. He was wearing maybe even the Kilgore College uniform. I used to cover, Craig did as well, East Texas for a long, long time. The junior college football teams there are very, very good. Tell me a little bit about, you have, I believe overall there's 8 brothers and sisters, but Shaylin's playing at Kilgore College. Tell me a little bit about him and how much perhaps the older siblings helped make you competitive and who you are today.
My brother always been pushing me ever since day one. Like he been seeing something in me since day one, and that's why he always pushed me. We go outside, we get a little workout there, all that. It's just he been pushing me. It's crazy.
What's it like for the family to hear about your decision? What's been their response?
They just been excited. Like this is crazy because. Who thought Baylor offered me this opportunity is just crazy.
Where did you learn how to write so well?
Write?
Yeah, your mom said you're a great writer.
Well, I do like to color. I'm not color, draw.
Okay.
And writing just came with it, really.
By the way, Cedric Roberts is our guest from Hendrickson High School. They got a playoff game tomorrow night. They won a couple of games already this week. Your father drives an armored car. Is that car works for Loomis, the armored car company?
Yes, sir.
That's pretty cool to me. Have you ever been able to? I don't know if you're allowed to get in one of those or not. Probably not.
Nah, I was not able to allow it.
I didn't think they would be.
But I bet it'd be fun though.
You a better writer or are you a better dancer?
Oh, that's a good one. I gotta say dancer. I'm a pretty good dancer. I ain't gonna lie.
You seem to have kind of this sneaky confidence, somewhat of a shyness about you, but it seemed like you have this great personality that everyone's attracted to the kind of person you are. Where did all that come from, and what does that mean to you?
I'm honestly just how I am. Just a human guy. I'm always a chill, laid back guy. Always been. And yeah, really.
Cedric Roberts from Hendrickson High School on SicEm365 Radio.
Cedric, it sounds to me like not only are you grateful for the offer, but it seems, and tell me if I'm wrong, that you were just really caught off guard by all this. Would that be accurate? Is this just all sort of just kind of a whirlwind for you and sort of surprising at the same time?
Yes, sir. I'm blessed. I'm just full on blessed. And yes.
You broke your foot when you were younger. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I broke my left foot.
What was that like? Did you feel like maybe you weren't going to be able to? Something you liked you couldn't do? You couldn't play football or basketball? I don't know how old you were when you broke your foot.
I broke my foot when I was 13.
Okay.
And I also played AAU, so that really hurt my team.
You're a hell of a basketball player too, right? What's your favorite sport, football or basketball?
It was, like if I was skinny, it would have been basketball, but I gained this weight and a little muscle. I decided to just stick with football.
You get a chance to watch Baylor basketball very much?
Yes, sir. I mean, I watch it a little bit. Like they're pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Cedric, they're 18-0. You probably need to change that from pretty good to really good. You got to get it. And of course, they have a hell of a game tomorrow night in Kansas as well.
You can start bragging about them now.
Yeah, now you can talk some noise.
That's a big one.
How much do you weigh now?
I feel like 250.
250, and you're 6'3" or 6'4"? Which one?
6'4", probably. Yeah. I need to change it.
Okay, if 6'4", and Paul, he said he's 250. Remember Nick John Batiste, the former defensive lineman, what was 250?
350.
Yeah.
He was 350.
He was 350.
Yeah.
So you got to be 250. Now, here's the thing that's impressive. This is why I asked you your weight. Otherwise, it's none of our business. But your mother said you were born a month early. You were a premature baby, and you were born a month early, and you weighed 5 pounds when you came out on your birthday. Did you even know that? And that's a pretty big rise in how big you are and how much you weigh now.
Yeah, that's scary to be that light. It didn't come out to be like 250 or 260.
Yeah. So what do you do now? I know you have the basketball game. Tell me a little bit about your run, because you had games that were canceled because of the conditions, and you're having to play a lot of games in a short amount of time. What's next for Hendrickson tomorrow?
What's next is to go to round 4. That's all I was down for. Go to round 4, lose to win state. That's all I'm grinding for. I want to win state. Because honestly, we can blow out everybody in our tournament. That's what happened.
Okay. All right. Well, you get a chance to do that again tomorrow. What is all this? Craig's mentioned this and Paul's mentioned it. We've asked you in different ways. What has today been like for you? What has it been like? We mentioned your family. What's it been like for you? Has it been like a blur or what? What kind of explain your day?
It was like I'm in the NFL, like phone blowing up. This is crazy. Coach just texting me left and right, getting calls. Then I also got to deal with school today too. It's like, man, it's just crazy.
Has it been strange being a young man your age? It's been strange for everybody around the world because of COVID and all the things going on. But what has it been like to be your age as a junior now in high school and deal with the end of your sophomore year through most of your junior year and all the things we are experiencing in this country?
It's been honestly like crazy, especially the COVID, because my parents did actually have it at the time when I had 2 weeks off, and COVID ain't nothing to play with. It's serious, but they are better now. It's just crazy.
That's good news. You play Anderson tomorrow. They're 20-5. You guys are you are good. You're 24-4.
Yes, sir. I feel like we got it. Our team is it.
Well, good luck with all of that. All right, Cedric, I asked this question. We asked this question. I know it's early in the process. My God, you got your first offer. You commit to Baylor. Committed to Baylor. What does committed to Baylor actually mean to you?
I mean, it's full commitment to classroom, off the field, and on. And I mean, hard work comes in everywhere, like ethic and everywhere, even especially classroom. They coaches even say that the most. Classroom is the biggest key.
Make sure your academics are set up as well.
Yes, sir.
Your phone has been blowing up, you mentioned, almost like you're a part of the NFL. Have a lot of other schools started to already start pop your phone? And what do you now do because you're committed to Baylor when they call?
I mean, I'm still, like I said, I'm still full committed. But, I mean, if some of the school offer me, I mean, that's a good. My focus priority is school and Baylor.
Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Thanks for reaching back out to me earlier today. Enjoy your weekend. Good luck against Austin Anderson in the playoff game tomorrow night. And also good luck to Hendrickson. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. You have a good one.
You too. That's Cedric Roberts of Hendrickson High School. Latasha, his mother, gave me some insight. He was 5 pounds when he was born.
Yeah,
that's pretty small.
He hit a growth spurt, that's for sure. So
big one.
Yeah, you don't know. I guess when the baby comes out, I don't know. I haven't had to deal with all of that, but you kind of have an idea of maybe the growth, and she must have been very surprised with a preemie baby, and then turn it into a Division I offensive line commit. So that's pretty cool, and yeah, it's a nice get for Baylor, and the momentum that they've had here lately has been a lot of fun to see. You know, we're kind of sitting there with just and I said offensive line, defensive line. I knew I said something wrong, but defensive line commit. It's been fun to see. You know, Colton Price, you address the O-line, Cedric Roberts on the D-line, Cody Mladinka. Gives you a pair of tight ends to go along with Kelsey Johnson. So you had Kyan Roberts-Day, who is really a Swiss Army knife type of guy. I mean, he could end up playing any number of positions at Baylor. I know that technically he's a defensive lineman or whatever some services might have him as, but he's every bit the athlete. He's playing offense in high school, and he'll be very interesting to see coming out of Missouri. But yeah, it's a nice run for them, and like we've been kind of hinting at, there's potentially another commit that could be coming here in the next couple of days. They will add on to this class. So whereas, like a week ago, they were about a quarter of the way full, now they're about a third of the way full, or around that area, with now 6 commits, or maybe a little less than a third of the way full. I guess still about a quarter of the way, maybe.
Who knows anymore because of all the what you can still do and come back and all that. That's eventually got to settle itself. But even between 18 and 23 people, probably players that you can sign at some particular point. One of the things his mom told me is he has tibia bara. You know what that is, Paul?
No.
It's he's bow-legged, that one of his legs is a little bit larger than the other one, and at times he's had to kind of deal with that. That's when he broke his ankle. They were worried about it, but he got through that. And so it's a little – my brother had something on his kneecap that was different when he was younger, but he's had to deal with that a little bit. She said he's a good kid, always superb. Academics mean a lot. He's always been good in athletics. He's just someone who's never really had to get himself, and very, very rarely, if at all, have I ever had to get on him. Very personable. 8 siblings, counting Cedric Roberts as well.
Oh, that's my nightmare.
Well, there was a bit of a trend. Yeah, that would be crazy. That would be insane. But there was a bit of a trend when James Blanchard was here the last time of Baylor offering guys, and clearly – their evaluation was respected nationally, because you would pretty much immediately see them offer some, hidden gem type of guy, or some player who doesn't even have a profile on 24/7 or on Rivals. And, next thing they know, he's a member of the Baylor class, and all of a sudden, you see a lot of offers coming these guys' way. So it'll be interesting for Cedric to see, who might now be going, wait a second, who's this guy?
Yep.
And starting to take a longer look at him. And that's part of recruiting. You get the commitment, but then you got to fight for the commitment, and you got to fight until you get that signature. So they got a long way to go with every member of this class, but it's being, shaped together. It's coming together quite nicely. And I think we are going to see that kind of touch of Blanchard on, some of these, like I said, again, hidden gems that will be the makeup of these classes. So it's fun to see kind of what they look for and who they go after that, maybe not a lot of others have taken notice of. And that's what you kind of have to do if you're Baylor, too, because you can't be in the fight for every 5-star and high 4-star. You got to go and find some other guys that are, maybe not on anyone else's radar, but fit what you're looking for. And so he seems to be one of those types of players that fits that mold.
And I think some of the players like a Cedric Roberts or others, when you're the first one to truly believe in them, and even a commitment like Cedric Roberts is going to get his phone's going to blow up more. A lot of teams are going to start coming after him, and so now you have to hold on. But why? What are you going to do? Wait till everyone else is on him? So go ahead. You like him? Offer him. If he commits, that's great. And he seems like he's thrilled with it. His family, his mom said this is one of the schools he wanted to go to. So we'll see what happens, but good luck to him.
You got to fight for the commitment, and then you got to fight to keep the commitment, and then you fight for the signature, and then you get him on campus. And I want to add that a little shout out to the premium section. Colt has a note up. I believe it was Colt that had this note up on a player who's no longer on the roster. And it's not a name that's like, it's not Treston Ebner or RJ Sneed. It's not a name that maybe even a lot of fans will even be all that familiar with at this point, because it's not like he's been a standout. But I bring that up because that's a benefit of the premium section is you can go find out who that is right now, who's no longer on the Baylor football roster as reported by Colt. And that also matters because of the scholarship situation. And you kind of wondered, like, all of their guys who had a choice for the most part, except for Charlie Brewer and John Lovett, decided to come back. Every single one of them. And so, you know, you look at next year and the scholarships and things like that. We know teams are okay now, but the following year, right, is where it gets a little bit messy. So based on what Colt said, the recent departure and then looking at the numbers of scholarships, they're right at 85. And we know there's going to be more movement and there's going to be more additions. So there's going to be other departures, and don't be alarmed by that because that's just kind of the nature of the beast is there's departures and additions every single offseason. But to kind of figure out where they are scholarship-wise, they are right on that number, I believe, as we stand right now.
I'm still in my feelings about having 7 siblings. I've one, and it feels like I have 7.
Yeah.
I've had more.
There are times you've told me you felt like she was 7.
Yeah, I mean, I love her to death, but like, yeah, I just can't imagine. Holy cow.
I bet. I wish we'd asked Cedric this. What was that like to fight for the food when you have 8 siblings? That's interesting. His father drives works for an armored vehicle company. That's cool as well.
I would love 8 siblings.
I was sitting here thinking about this. Like, I don't know.
I have 3 brothers, and I wish I had 10 more.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind probably have had more siblings. Just it's more love and more people and more everything else. So I wouldn't have minded that.
Yeah.
No, I guess I'm the outlier.
You have to.
Maybe it's your,
I find
your
that people,
unique situation.
people who have a low number of siblings think, oh, that would be horrible. But then when you actually experience it, you're like, actually, it's not that bad. It's pretty great.
You only need 6 more.
Built-in friends.
It's too late now.
No, I'm talking about, you're building your own other siblings.
You've already got 2, right, Paul?
Yeah, I actually do. I did find out I have a brother. I mean, that was. I mean, and that's wild. We talk sometimes. I can't wait to meet him. But
here's the name of Blast from the Past. Remember Tommy Bush?
Yes, it's been a running joke on what is the Bearcast. I almost said Trust the Podcast, but now known as the Bearcast. He was a widely talked about player about 2 years ago. Was one of the big targets for Matt Rule and company, a 4-star wide receiver, and they thought they were going to get him, and I thought they were going to get him, and signing day rolled around and he picked Georgia. And first of all, it was a little bit head scratching because players from Texas don't typically go to Georgia. I mean, it's pretty rare, especially offensive players. But hey, Georgia was a hot team at the time and still are, I guess, and it's the SEC and all that. But you look at who else they recruit, and it just never made much sense. Like, I just didn't understand the pick, and I know I'm not Tommy Bush, so I didn't go visit their campus and meet their coaches and see the girls and the facilities and all of that stuff that these guys do. So obviously there was something he loved about Georgia, but just from an outsider's perspective, it just didn't make a lot of sense versus the situation he would have walked into at Baylor. So this is not surprising in the slightest bit. He's got 1 career catch in 2 years. I would occasionally look at the Georgia box score just to see if he was actively getting involved, and he never was. So, I am not surprised in any way, shape, or form because this was predicted on this very website. This was predicted the day he signed with Georgia 2 years ago. So, I don't know if they'll have interest in him anymore because that was the former staff. I know there's holdovers like McGuire and Bell and Wetzel. And at the same time, I don't know how this offensive coaching staff, views a Tommy Bush or what they'll view him as, because I'm sure they're in the know now that he's in the portal and that might be a possibility for them. But I'm not sure how they're really looking at receivers and transfers and things like that at the moment. But that's a name to at least keep an eye on because that was a name that we all knew quite a bit about 2 years ago, like I said.
Baylor women softball, it is the only ones that play that sport as far as in college. I don't know if there's any male softball teams or not. They lead UConn 5-0, bottom of the 6th. They have UConn, and then they play tonight against Ole Miss. And then, of course, still more over the weekend as they're playing and hosting that tournament at Getterman Park.
If you want some perspective on Tommy Bush, ask Grayson, because I seem to recall him talking an awful lot to Tommy Bush and being involved in his recruitment, and Baylor was in the mix and all of that. So he and I will have a good laugh about that, I'm sure, on Tuesday. Not at Tommy Bush's expense, but just at the situation because it was so predictable.
Getterman Stadium, on campus at Baylor. When we come back, Paul's 5 for 5:55. We appreciate Cedric Roberts. Thanks to his mother, Latasha, for giving me some insight on his life as he's committed to Baylor along with many others. We had a hell of a show. I hope you enjoyed it, from men's basketball to women's basketball to Baylor recruiting to Grant Teaff talking to Dave Aranda and his staff to KU and Gonzaga basketball. This is SicEm365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace. I was there earlier today. Went by to pick up some product and got a nice chunk of bone-in ribeyes. I cannot wait to put one of those on the grill tomorrow night. It's that time. I wasn't able to do that last week. It was just too cold, although it would have been nice to have the grill going for some more heat. But I'm gonna put a bone-in ribeye on the grill. Then maybe a little half of a baked potato with just a little bit on it, and then some veggies as well. And man, I tell you what, I appreciate the young man. He cuts my steak exactly the way I want, just over 1.25 inches thick bone-in ribeyes. And you can have your customized steaks cut by the butcher shop inside Waco Custom Marketplace. You can go online, wacocustommarketplace.com, and give your order there, or you can call them and say, this is what I want. I went by and picked up what I had, and it was bone-in ribeyes, big, thick bacon-wrapped fillets, a couple of packages of bacon, salmon, and much, much more. And I'll have that and use that and enjoy that and cook that along the way. It's Waco Custom Marketplace. They have the bakery every morning, fresh baked kolaches and bread, and the butcher shop also has pork, poultry, seafood, not just the beef. And up and down the aisle, seasoning, sauces, pasta, boxed dinners, and much more, even something like canned Rotel tomatoes if you need that. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
During the President's Day event, Allen Samuels has special pricing on a new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited with values up to $3,250 or 0% for 72 months, plus $1,000 in combo cash. Or a 2021 Jeep Cherokee. The new Latitude Plus has up to $6,000 in total values or 0% interest for 72 months and $1,250 in combo cash. Allen Samuels award-winning customer service. The best place to find your next SUV. Located at 201 West Loop 340. Allen Samuels is your friend in the car business. See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army licensed and credentialed medical professionals. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233 or online at impacthealthlabs.com.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com.
U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Thanks to our guest today, Jim Meehan, who covers Gonzaga for the Spokesman Review, Grayson Grunhafer on the commitment of Cedric Roberts in the weekend ahead from SicEm365.com, Andy Katz, National College basketball writer, Matt Tate for the Lawrence Journal World on KU, and Baylor tomorrow night, Grant Teaff, former Baylor head coach, and also Cedric Roberts of Hendrickson High School. The Big 12 tomorrow, Baylor and Kansas tomorrow night. Tiger Woods transferred to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in L.A., following, of course, earlier this week, that single vehicle crash. Was told, and I asked a couple of doctors about this, that it was good news that he was in a position to be transferred so he could start the road to whatever recovery it might be. And there was good news, though, that he was able to be transferred, that he wasn't, like, immobile, although he's not obviously getting up and walking around anytime soon.
Did I read right? He broke both his legs? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's going to have
it's going to be a while.
Yeah, a while back.
Yeah. The open fractures, there's a lot of things going on, just rods and pins and needles and much, much more. It is time for Paul Catalina's 5 at 5:55.
All right, this one is because it's Fun Friday. So Eddie Murphy's seminal classic, Coming to America, has a sequel coming out next week on March 5th. And so I thought I would give people like Armstrong and Jack, who have not gotten to experience the gloriousness of 1980s and very early 90s Eddie Murphy, a top 5 list. And for Smokey, too, but I actually am sure Smokey's probably seen a couple of these. But
is this when he was a king, or he all dressed up?
Prince,
he had all that fancy clothing.
That'll be one of them. Or, the sequel, that's what's coming out.
So, all right, number 5, 48 Hours. This one, Smokey, you would like. This cop movie. Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy's he's a convict. And
I've seen it.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It's good. The sequel is terrible, but the first one is excellent. It's very funny. Nick Nolte's actually funny in this, if you can believe that about Nick Nolte. Number 4, this is one Armstrong has seen.
Was he in the Jaws? Nick Nolte. What was this show? What was the one he was in a movie about deep sea? Who?
Blue Chips was the basketball movie they was doing with Shaq and Anthony Hardaway.
I thought Nick Nolte was also in a movie where he was. It was about deep sea diving with Jacqueline Bisset.
Oh, I'll have to look that one up. That's a deep cut there, Smokey. I'm impressed.
I can't believe I remember that.
Number 4, Bowfinger. This movie is Steve Martin. Armstrong, you've seen this one.
I have.
Yeah.
They show it to you in film school because there's a lot of film jokes in there. You know?
Yeah, it's very funny. Eddie Murphy, in his best movies, he plays 2 parts, at least 2. And he plays 2 parts in this movie.
Waco native Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Is he really?
Yeah.
The Deep, by the way, was that
I don't think
Nick
he really
Nolte?
I don't think he really claims it all that much, but he's originally from here,
Yeah, born at Connolly Air Force Base, number 3. Number 3, Beverly Hills Cop. And Beverly Hills Cop 2 also can go in this, but the Beverly Hills Cop, the scene alone when he checks into the Beverly Palm Hotel is one of the best, just fast comedy scenes of Eddie Murphy greatness.
Yeah, it's a great movie, and this is legit my ringtone.
Yeah,
is it really?
Legit my ringtone. Yeah.
Wow.
And the theme song, it's a great movie. And really, I mean, just And Eddie was really in his hot, his sweet spot here in this era. Number 2, Trading Places. Dan Aykroyd, very funny movie. Eddie gets to really kind of go nuts here and be Eddie. And again, it's a great movie about, if you want to watch how much of a con the stock market is, Trading Places, all that stuff that was going on with Reddit and GameStop and all that, all I could think about, Craig, was this movie.
Yeah.
Because that's essentially what they do in this movie.
Yeah, that GameStop stock is back up again, so they can't even really figure it out at this point. At least you could point to a Reddit thread and group and say that, and it's, I guess, still somewhat involved with that, but they can't even really explain now why the stock still is going up. It's crazy.
Can they live stream the first board meeting after it? They get to a point where they have to do something about it.
I don't know what they do eventually, because you can't really stop people from buying the stock. So,
but it has to be worth. This company has to do something. If it was Pfizer and then you're buying it because they're going to have a vaccine, they've got to make the vaccine, right?
They do make money when you go and sell them something. They charge you or they pay you nothing for it basically, and then charge 4 times for it. But the Trading Places is a classic. I said this earlier that the 2000s had its kind of frat buddy comedy renaissance, and the 90s had some good movies as well. But I think the 80s comedy scene was probably the greatest ever. Just the number of stars and just great movies.
Yeah. And number 1, and because of is Coming to America, which I will die on the hill of. I think it's the funniest movie ever made. It is. When you people write a movie, they say they want to laugh a minute in a movie, and it's more than that. It is the barbershop scene in this movie is a classic. If you have not seen Coming to America, the sequel's coming out on Friday. You got to watch Coming to America
tonight.
Next from Friday.
Don't be the person that sees the sequel of Coming to America before seeing the original that's been out for 30 plus years.
Yeah,
it's illegal.
And look, I can tell you, this movie holds up. It's not one of those ones sometimes you tell somebody to watch a movie from the 80s that's in your generation, Jack and Armstrong. You're like, well, it's kind of a corny movie from the 80s. This movie holds up. It's very funny. None of the references are dated or anything. It's just...
Does that have James Earl Jones? Is that right?
James Earl Jones plays the king. That's his dad. Yeah. And it's got look, you see a bunch of people in their first role. Cuba Gooding Jr. is in the barbershop getting a haircut. It's his first role ever. Samuel L. Jackson has a very small role, his first role ever in this movie. And his role is funny, man.
Arsenio Hall,
is the co-star of it. Very good.
All right. I think I've seen about 3 or 4 of those at some point. I really had.
I'm
Jack
impressed.
and Armstrong, you've seen any of those? None of them? One of them. Okay.
Which one have you seen, Jack? Beverly Hills Cop?
Beverly Hills Cop. All right. Yeah. All right. Thanks to all of our guests. We mentioned them just a minute ago. Thanks to Armstrong Sims. Thanks to Jack McKenzie as well. Paul, Catalina, Craig Smoak. Thank you for watching and listening whenever you do.
And
we really appreciate it.
Are we talking about men's and women's Big 12 basketball champions when we come in here on Monday?
On Monday, do we have a couple of championships to discuss when it comes to the Big 12? The women trying to win 11 in a row, the men trying to win their first ever if they can take care of business tomorrow against KU. We'll have a Baylor assistant coach on Monday and Tuesday. Various sports, we'll get to that, let you know. I'm David Smoak. Have a great weekend and good night. Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to Sic'em365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has been proudly serving Texans across the state for over 60 years. Call 254-772-8090 to find an agent who will provide a free review of your auto, home, and life coverage.